Painkiller.
CJ, the Painkiller.
Kevin Jackson.
So we need to start acting like a big boy football. It's time for the jet tax to die.
You're listening to Weapons Hot on Sports War Radio and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Darnold fires one into the end zone. It is caught. That's a jet touchdown.
And now here is your host, CJ, the Painkiller, Simone, and Kevin Jackson.
What's going on, Jets Nation? Welcome to another edition of Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Sports War Radio, Snowman Digital Media, and quite frankly, any place that you get your New York Jets fan news. So, I'm your host, CJ the Painkiller, D. Simone, and as you can see, we got a packed house tonight. We got a lot of stuff to cover. But first, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to my co-host, my right-seater, one of my very best friends. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Kevin Jackson!
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'll say it again, as I say it every week. If you've never had a Weapons Hot introduction, you've never been introduced properly. Yes, sir. CJ, once again, thanks again for having me. Great day today. We actually got completely and totally demolished by the Seahawks.
Yes, we did.
I'm gonna laugh this off. We're gonna try to keep ourselves measured here, or at least I'm gonna try to keep myself measured here today. But listen, what else is to be expected? We have a situation where our leadership is horrible. The players on the team, while I'm sure that they themselves within their hearts don't feel like they've given up, they're not actually playing inspired ball. We actually saw Geno Smith play today. And if that doesn't tell you all that you need to know about this game, I'm not sure what else it is that anyone else would be able to tell you or say. Really excited about our guests today once again. Listen, I'm not gonna run my jabs right now. Weapons Hot, let's go.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, definitely taking up the rear, as we call him sitting in the control tower. Put your hands together. But first, before we put our hands together, I totally screwed up his intro. I have to work on that. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Jimmy Jardine.
Yeah.
How we doing, everybody?
All right.
It's about as good of a Sunday as we could ask for right now.
Amen to that. I tell you, it's definitely crazy. Jimmy, I know you got some good stuff for us.
Sure do.
I gave you a couple of things to take care of during the off there. So I'm very interested to hear what you have to say as we get to that a little bit later in the show.
Definitely.
But, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see on your screen, we have a very special guest in the house. And with a very special guest comes very special intro music. If it'll ever play.
It's coming.
Yeah, as it comes. It's
right. The build up.
And we've got the build up. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce, making his second appearance on Weapons Hot, the author of Whatever It Takes, Mr. Daniel Kelly.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? That's awesome. I love that intro. I love the bells. That gets me going big time right there.
I had to take a minute.
Daniel, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing really well, guys. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm excited. Let's put the ball on the tee and let's go.
Right.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, Dan. It's really good to have you once again. I know
Thank you.
CJ's got a long list of stuff we're going to discuss tonight. We've got a few things to point on, but let's go ahead, press the button, CJ. Where we at?
Man,
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
We've got a lot to talk about tonight. First off,
thank you.
It's not enough that, we watched the New York Jets completely get demolished today, 40-3 by the Seattle Seahawks. We knew that this was going to be an absolute dumpster fire of a football game, okay? The Jamal Adams revenge game. There was talk that Marcus May was not going to play in this game. Denzel Mims, who was ineligible to play for this game because he had a family emergency. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to him, okay, and his family, and hoping that everything is okay on that end. But, you know, there were a couple of things about this game that kind of pissed me off. Now, you probably would say, well, CJ, it's a New York Jets game. What is there not to piss you off? Okay, I mean, especially in a shit show of a season like this. Okay, well, there were a couple of different penalties that were called. Okay, one of them in particular, Brashad Perryman, Sam Darnold throwing a fade route into the corner of the end zone. Okay, the defensive back literally has his hand on the face like this on Brashad Perryman. And there's the ref going, okay, look, all right, but that wasn't the reason why the Jets lost the game. The Jets lost the game because they stink. That's why they lost the game, okay? But here's another thing, too. In the third quarter, the New York Jets stop the Seattle Seahawks on successive three-play drives, only for Seattle to get issued a brand new set of downs because of a phantom penalty. You had Marcus May, who was hand-checking DK Metcalf. They called interference. And I'm like, where? Where are you getting this flag from? Okay. Then the second play, I forgot who the offense was on, but it was some sort of an illegal contact penalty, which I thought that was horse shit too. And I mean, at that point, my wife came in and I looked at her and I said to her, you know what? I said, look, I know y'all hate the Jets, okay? You don't have to make it that obvious by throwing a flag. Everybody decides to break wind next to a Seattle Seahawk receiver, okay? Can we stop with that? And at that point, it was already 23-3. The game was already out of hand. There was no way the Jets were coming back because their offense was struggling. What's with the flags?
There was also the non-call on Berrios. On that one, I thought it was pretty obvious. He's coming across the middle.
Yup.
And the guy hits him early, and Berrios comes up.
He got absolutely smoked on that hit.
He's looking for the flag as he should have been, and there was none. We're not going to get, the Jets organization. We don't get flags like that. We don't get penalties called for us like that. Just basically because we haven't, what difference is it going to make for us? That's I get your point, but that's the officiating right now. It's going to be petty because of who it is that we are. We got to still consider. We're still the Jets, man.
Right, but here's the thing, though. I mean, look, the Jets stink. I completely understand that the Jets stink. All right, we all understand that the Jets stink. Why do you need to pile it on? I mean, do you really need to throw flags in that point? Okay, we're not talking about a 7-3 game where it's tight and you're trying to play it close to the vest. We're talking about a team that's getting absolutely whitewashed that the game was over at halftime. Okay, Sergio Castillo himself left 9 points on the field by missing 3 straight field goals. Okay, at that point, I was just like, you know what? The Jets should just go for it on 4th down because they have no confidence in this kid. And Braden Mann. So, I mean, I'm sorry to say, but I'm a little bit pissed off with Braden Mann because lately, the past couple of games, his punting has not really allowed itself to have us in good field position. Is not giving the New York Jets and putting their opponents in shitty field position. The whole purpose that this kid was drafted because he was able to flip the field on special teams. Okay, I think Seattle's average starting point for their drives was like the 45-yard line. I mean, that's just it's just one of a lot of different things that you could pick at. Where now the Jets the Jets are 0-13. It's like you'd like them to show a little bit of pride. You'd like them to show a little, a little bit of, a little bit of competitive fight like we saw last week against the Raiders. Okay? Last week's game against the Raiders, although we lost in the final seconds, it didn't bother me as much as it bothered some other people who were really bent out of shape and let their feelings be known on social media. But today, the Jets lose by 37 points, and it's like, oh, you sneezed near Russell Wilson, 15-yard penalty. Oh, you broke wind next to DK Metcalf. That's another 15-yard penalty. Oop, you touched Carlos's left cleat. That's a 5-yard penalty, an automatic first down. Yeah. I mean, give me a fucking break, please. Please. Guys, your thoughts on the game. Jimmy, we'll start with you, and then we'll go around the room.
I'll tell you what, just to to keep the what pissed me off theme going here. Who the hell does Shaquille Griffin think he is? Who is this guy? You are on this literally the worst secondary in the NFL, and every time a ball is overthrown, you're doing a little dance like you did something special on the worst secondary in the NFL.
Yeah.
Act like you've been there before, bro. Act like you've been there before. That's ridiculous. Congratulations. You're shutting down the 32nd ranked offense. Wow. You're so special.
Right.
That's great. As far as that's kind of what pissed me off. I noticed, I'm not going to nitpick Sam. We all know at this point, we all know who Sam is. And just with this coaching staff, he's beyond repair. He can still have a great career somewhere else, but it's not going to happen here. And so I'm not going to nitpick him. I still say that Sam Darnold is hanging his offensive line out to dry. He's not going through his progressions fast enough.
Nope,
like these are the major things. Like I'm not going to nitpick a poor accuracy ball here and there, but I mean, who the hell was he throwing to when Jamal almost picked him off? Like that was 5 yards behind whoever the receiver could have been. Like it's stuff like that just reinforce what I've been saying in the groups about how it's just third-year quarterbacks don't make those errors if they're going to be a franchise guy.
Right.
So, I mean, the Jets offense was what it was.
He's got to shake out of it. Look, there's only so much that we can blame on Adam Gase. And trust me, there's a lot that we can fucking blame on Adam Gase. But you know what? Eventually, Sam's got to pull his head out of his ass. And regardless who's coaching you, if you're the guy, if you intend to be a franchise quarterback, you got to start playing like one. You can't start blaming shit on the offensive line and start blaming it on, well, I don't have my full complement of receivers, and I don't have this, and I don't have that, and I don't have the other thing. You know what? Grow fucking set. You're an NFL quarterback, okay? You get paid millions of dollars to play a game. Play your fucking game. Stop with the excuses and stop with the bullshit.
Look, I'm a Sam guy. You guys know I really had a lot that I wanted to give Sam when he came in. And obviously, I want to get Daniel's opinion on this, but I'll just say this about Sam right now. Sam can't have any balls right now when he's actually dealing with Adam Gase the way that it is. Adam Gase is the authoritarian leader, and he actually, if you see what it is that's going on with the conversation about the play calling and all of that, bit with him and I can't even remember. Dowell, is that his name? Yeah.
Dowell Logan.
Anyways, even those things. You know, we unfortunately we have to kind of give Sam. Obviously, we have to give Sam the benefit of just understanding the situation that he's placed in, and as you can see when he goes to his little press conferences after the game. Oh yeah, I have total confidence in Adam Gase. Okay, that's the situation that Sam is in right now. So the fact that he's not going through his progressions and all of that, Sam's a zombie right now. They've killed everything inside of him that would qualify him as a franchise quarterback. And it's difficult to watch. It's difficult to know that that's really what's going on and that the kid is doing everything that he's supposed to be doing by not just saying it and not just throwing Adam Gase under every bus that comes down the block in high traffic. But you know, I think there is some points to it. Yeah, he's missing progressions. He's missing a lot of different things. He's missing reads on defenses. He's missing a lot. But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's checked out right now. He's not getting anything that what a franchise quarterback is supposed to get from a coaching staff and from a supposed guru and genius. He's not getting any of that. So yeah, Sam has responsibility. Absolutely. Adam Gase, I believe, has more. I think Adam Gase has more because Adam Gase was supposed to be the guy that got Sam over the hump, and he built a larger mountain in front of him for him to have to get over. And yeah, Jimmy's right. He's going to need to change the scenery. But the fact of the matter is that change of scenery, he's still going to have to overcome the mental issues that he's been kind of saddled with because of his affiliation with Adam Gase and the flag throwing guy. Dan, I'm sorry. Please,
Daniel, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. So, please tell us what you saw today.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yep, I can hear you. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Sorry, I lost audio there for a second. Yeah, it's a rough state of affairs. I mean, anytime you're 0-13 and you lose 40-3, everything's breaking down at every level. And I mean, it's easy to point the fingers at that person or this person, but in reality, everything's breaking down at this point. And it's just a tough game and one of the toughest games that I think the Jets have seen in some time. It's hard to say who had a good game, who had a bad game, because I mean, when it's 40-3, everybody had a bad game for the most part, and nobody's working together as a team. That's what I think.
Absolutely. And just another thing too is that listen, I got to get these comments on the air because they're just hilarious. So listen, anybody who is watching the broadcast right now at the bottom of the feed, please feel free to drop your comments down below. We will get them on the air. Also, don't forget to check us out on YouTube as well, on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We are this close to 1,000 subscribers. Come on, get us over that hump, people. All right, so real quick, let me go ahead and get these comments out there. Shout out to Ryan Underwood, who peppered a few over here. Johnsons are handing out Christmas bonus gifts to refs. The tank is on, plus padding Gord's Hall of Fame stats. Game-winning scapegoat, goat in capital letters. I have no idea what that means. Clowntown, Jets are going to get it from teams. Yes, of course. We already know that. No, get a better organization. Pitt is a good model. Yeah, of course, everybody wants to jump on Pittsburgh's dick because they're fucking 12-1 or 11-1 or whatever. How could you ask Sam to progress when there's no continuity, no star wide receivers, no stud O-line, no consistent coaches? New York Jets organization failed Sam. That I agree with, because you know what? I've said this on this show, and all of you that are sitting at this panel can definitely attest to that. Okay, that I believe that Sam Darnold was failed from the moment that they walked in the door. I don't give a shit who was coaching him. Like, yeah, we could take a look at Jeremy Bates. We could take a look at Darryl Loggins. We could take a look at Adam Gase. Okay, but you know what? I'm sorry. The New York Jets organization failed Sam Darnold. And that falls not only at the feet of Christopher and Woody Johnson, but that also falls at the feet of Mike McCagnon, wherever the fuck he is underneath the rock that he's hiding under. That I swear to God, I hope he never gets another job in the NFL again. All right? So
we know Adam Gase won't. Look, let me just piggyback off that because that's a fantastic point. Yeah, we failed Sam. As an organization, I think we failed almost every quarterback that we've drafted to put in this position since. I mean, we drafted Sanchez early, and then after the first couple of years of runs, we started pulling things away from him, and he wasn't really that good of a quarterback. He needed to be propped up, and we couldn't do it for him, and we kind of chose not to. And then we drafted Geno, and basically the same thing. Started Geno too early, put Geno in a spot to where he had to be something that he wasn't, and now Geno is hated by every single Jets fan that's ever considered buying a jersey. And I mean, they hate Geno Smith. Hate is probably a weak word for how it is that this fan base feels about Geno Smith. And then obviously Christian Hackenberg, what was the other guy, the kid from Baylor we drafted, Bryce Petty. We really haven't done much of anything for any of the quarterbacks.
Bryce Petty, into this. Christian Hackenberg.
Yeah, well,
Greg McElroy.
Christian Hackenberg was a scrub anyway, so we can move on from him. He never played. But now we're seeing basically in full view the culmination of all of that bad being dropped on Sam Darnold, who was actually the best prospect that we've had out of all of them. And all of the badness got dropped on him. And that's the reason why we're in the position we're in right now.
Yeah, and the organization failed him. And look, but the blame doesn't just go to the organization. The blame also goes to the feet of the kid as well. And you guys know at the beginning of the season, I said that this was going to be a year where Sam going into his third year, okay, we were all going to be extremely hard on Sam because he needed to take that step. He needed to show that he could be the guy. Because if he's going to command the kind of money that he's going to command because of the QB market that has now been established, okay, you got to put up or shut up. And it doesn't matter who's coaching you. And right now, Sam can't do it. He can't do it.
He's
Plain and simple.
Anymore. He's not commanding anymore. That $25 million contract thing, nah. Sam Darnold is going to go from a number 3 draft pick to quite possibly a barely above minimum backup on a team that he's not even going to be starting on. So
he'll be lucky if he's playing for the XFL whenever they decide to reboot.
I think he's better than that. I think his floor in at least a decent situation is better than what it is that it is here. Your floor drops when you're on this team. You know what I'm saying? How bad you can play, it actually is determined upon what it is that you have around you. And this is the Jets. You know, we're bad all the way around. Sam needs a change of scenery, but Sam also needs to get into a situation where they can rebuild the psychological part of and aspects of being, you know, a franchise quarterback, because he didn't have any of the things that would build you up here. Sam has been stripped down. Sam isn't, you know, we said this before, CJ, and we talked about this. Sam shouldn't have to have security blankets. Sam should have weapons. Sam doesn't have weapons, anything. Sam has, what do we say, a 22 and 3 slingshots with no rocks. So
I don't even think he's got that. I think he's got an unloaded potato gun.
And again, that's the difficulty, because now not only do you have that, but you got a guy who can't even draw up sandlot plays in the grass and in the dirt to go out there and tell him how to be effective and to win with those, you know, minuscule and ineffective tools. So look, yeah, we have to give Sam some of the blame here. But to be perfectly honest with you, we don't draft veterans. We draft kids that need guidance. We draft kids that need to be taught and need to be shown. And he has a few things that he brings in with him that, you know, those are intangibles that you bring, but those things don't necessarily work if everything around you is actually as piss poor as it's been here with the Jets. So again, we can't remove the responsibility for Sam, but when we realize what and who and where we're talking about him playing, you know, I just have a hard time, because this is the Jets, man. This is my team. I love this team. I bleed green. Been a fan since I was 7-8 years old. You know what I'm saying? Bobby Jackson and all of those guys. You know, when I was a kid, and this is probably the worst case scenario for where it is that we are supposed to be as an NFL organization. Cut and dry. Period.
Well, I think one of the things you brought up, Kevin, is kind of a double-edged sword for Sam. And you're absolutely right that Gase is an absolute dictator, and Sam is required to run what Gase says to run. And while that is in and of itself, I think, restrictive for Sam in terms of it's obviously not who he is as a quarterback. This playbook is not who Sam Darnold is. But the other side of that sword that hurts Sam, I think, is if the playbook is that locked down and you have to run that play or that series, because Gase's idiot self said that they're running talking about the next series of plays while the current series is going. Like, it's insane.
Listen, can I just jump in there?
Yeah.
Can we all just be in agreement that Adam Gase is full of shit?
100%.
Can we all be in agreement
100%.
that Darryl Loggins is not calling not one single fucking play on there?
Who?
I don't give a fuck what Adam Gase says. I don't give a fuck if he gets up there on air and says, "Oh, well, these were Darryl Huggins plays. Oh, and this was a design run, and I'm the one who's giving Sam the play." Bullshit. It's coming from your fucking Denny's menu of plays that you have that we all know don't fucking work.
It's just a big picture of Frank Gore.
Right. So 75% of the plays are fucking Frank Gore, and then the other 25% of the plays are some asshole who he just grabs off the bench.
Why can't I see that? I'm starting to think that those first few plays that are scripted, that's just the auto selections from Madden. You know?
Dude, like what's going? When you were a kid, did you
that just whatever?
Did you
just
ever play
it.
like what the hell is it? For Sega Genesis, Joe Montana Football. You know how they have like Joe's plays? You just keep hitting the B button and you just keep picking Joe's plays, and they're all
Madden
like
coaches' suggestions,
right? The coaches' suggestions, exactly.
It's like that. Those are all Adam Gase's plays, but he's an offensive guru. He's an offensive genius. This guy can't coach his way out of a fucking wet paper bag with directions.
Gase says, "I learned from Madden himself."
Right? It's like he's trying to run that Bo Jackson Tecmo Bowl play with Frank Gore.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's the thing. That's the thing, though. That's like I was saying. That's the other side of that sword. Is if everything is so scripted, then Sam has a 100% directed progression that he is to follow,
and he's not doing it.
So yes, Adam Gase is a terrible play caller, but if Sam knows exactly what is going to be played and he can't deviate from that, then it goes into what he as a quarterback, as a football player, should know how to do. Exactly. And he knows that once he takes that snap, if he's looking over and he's seeing Perryman and he sees that he's supposed to see that safety cheat over to Perryman, that progression's done. Next, that one's done. Next, check down, get the 5 yards. Exactly. He's not doing that. So when it's scripted, like I said, it's just kind of a double-edged sword. And I think that he himself is more talented than he's allowing himself to be on the field.
Dan, I wanted to ask Daniel a question specifically because we were talking about Sam and Jimmy. You made a point earlier about what was he looking at when he almost threw the interception, but I recognized today when Jamal almost had his pick, that basically he understands what Sam's tendencies are, and he's looking at Sam and he's watching Sam follow the receiver because he never looked off. You know, and I know you kind of watch players and you've seen that stuff. Do you think that might be is that even fixable in his game at this point? I mean, do you think it's possible for him to be able to take that and move and go someplace else and get rid of that, or you think that's always going to is that always going to dog him?
Well, I know that Bill Parcells had a famous saying. He said that if they don't bite when they're puppy dogs, they're generally not going to bite. You know, and that's the thing is, I mean, they are what they are.
Deep.
And yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times, you know, a lot of coaches with a lot of ego in the NFL will think they can change a guy. The smart coaches are the guys that accept who the guy really is, and that's who he really is. So, you know, if he puts on a different helmet, you know, we've seen this with other players in the league that've gone from team to team. The same thing shows up, and that's what I expect to see from Sam, no matter which helmet he puts on, because at the end of the day, when the chips are down line of fire, that's what's going to come out of him.
That's sad, man. That really is.
All right. So really quick, just from a stats perspective to recap this game, and then we're going to move on to our next topic of conversation for this evening. Sam Darnold went 14 of 26 for 132 yards, averaged 5.1 yards per play. He was sacked 3 times for a total of 16 yards. His quarterback rating on the day was at 68.1. Now, on the other side, his opponent, Russell Wilson, 21 for 27, 206 yards, averaged 7.6 yards per play. Had 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, quarterback rating of 122.6. He was not sacked at all in this game. Now, Geno Smith, who came in relief of Russell Wilson in garbage time, 4 for 5 for 33 yards, averaged 6.6 yards per play. He was sacked once for 3 yards, still finished the day with a quarterback rating of 94.2. For New York rushing, the hero of the day was Josh Adams, who I expected to see a lot more of, but unfortunately, you know, it was the Frank Gore show as always.
Yeah, I like that
6 carries for 27 yards. Frank Gore had 8 carries for 23 yards. Ty Johnson had 8 carries for 16 yards, and Sam Darnold had 1 carry for 3 yards. And then, of course, Jamal Adams was credited with a sack today on Sam running out of bounds because he couldn't reach the original line of scrimmage. So he ended up setting the quote unquote record for a defensive back for sacks, which I thought was bullshit because he almost tripped him up with a blade of grass.
He slapped his ankle as Sam ran out of bounds, 2-yard loss. Get the fuck out of here.
That's like the Michael Strahan Brett Favre sack, right?
Right, exactly. So they just gave it to him just on spite. I hope Jamal Adams is going to write the $500 check to Sam Darnold at the end of the game. So anyhow, Braxton Berrios had 3 receptions for 49 yards. He actually led all Jets receivers today, 16.3 yard average. His longest was a 34-yarder. He was targeted 5 times. Brashad Perryman led the team in targets with 6. 3 receptions for 26 yards. His average was 8.7. His longest was a 17-yarder. Jaleel Scott, 1 reception for 16 yards. I have no idea who this dude was. He's probably a practice squad player that they brought up. Jeff Smith, 1 catch for 14 yards. Chris Herndon, 1 catch for 9 yards. Again, completely underutilized. And so on and so forth.
They bring Lawrence Cager up to the active roster too. I didn't even hear his name once, and they were in the red zone multiple times.
Right, and how could you not use that guy? I mean, what is he,
exactly.
That's ridiculous.
Big body in the red zone, 100%. Get Cager the ball.
Right. Was there Herndon sighting today, CJ?
Yeah, there was
1 catch.
1 catch for 9 yards. And again, Kevin, you and I talked about this. Think about a wide receiver core with Denzel Mims on one side, a healthy Lawrence Cager on the other, and Jamison Crowder in the slot.
Look, and add Chris Herndon into the mix with that.
Right.
And I mean, you've got guys that really, we talk about we don't have anybody that strikes fear in any team's defense. If we have the right quarterback, we have the right situation, those guys would most definitely create some fear in a defense if they're being used correctly.
Ryan Griffin too.
Exactly. And that again, that whole 12 personnel, look, we talked about this, and I know Jimmy, you're a numbers guy. So I mean, this in particular is kind of impactful for me, because what we're looking at are guys that have all of the tools, they have all of the abilities, but they're in a situation where they're not being put in positions to succeed. So we bring all of these big, fast guys in, these possession guys. We bring these guys in who literally are the type of physical specimens that you want to see in your 1s and in your 2s, and then you use them like they're fifth string undrafted free agents, and you don't want to throw them the ball. Yep. I had a conversation about Robbie Anderson today, and I'm not gonna stay on Robbie too long, but this is a conversation where they keep saying that Robbie's not a 1. Robbie's not a 1. Robbie's gonna have a 1,000-yard season this year.
Yep. Playing as a second or third option. So
and I mean, when you think about that, if Robbie's on this team, Robbie's our 1.
So
I mean,
listen, I gotta get to these comments, but really quick before I do that, I gotta have a little of this, only because breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Scott Gillespie, one of the main followers of our show, 11-2 on the season with his betting against the Jets. So congratulations, Mr. Gillespie. It's going to be a great Christmas.
Good.
I expect a little 10% cut on this side over here, considering you're doing all of this work for it.
If I'm telling you right now, if I bet against him, that we're going to win. If I bet, we're going to win the game, and I'm not betting.
Really quick, I want to get to some of these comments over here. I want to thank everyone who's taking the time to come out to watch the show and to comment on it. Mr. Martin Steele, why put hurt players in the game just for them? Just to not have them in weeks to play for us. Poor judgment on Gase. Absolutely. This team is so broke. Yeah, that's another one. Martin Steele again. Johnson's need to sell the team. Yeah, that's for damn sure. Martin Steele also chimed in. If we get Trevor Lawrence, he could possibly get ruined too. I did answer that response, in which if Adam Gase is in fact retained as the head coach next year, I think in fact Trevor Lawrence will in fact get ruined. But however, I don't think so with a new head coach here. And we're actually going to talk about that in just a second. Troy McCall, we passed on Mahomes. Yeah. Todd Woolman chimed in. Jets, keep losing, baby. As I scroll down here, Jason C. Williams, eternal backup. He can hang out with McCown, bum status as he's done in this league, talking about Sam Darnold. Again, he will never start on another team. Sam is a third string backup. Sam's not a leader. He's a muppet just like Flacco. Kyle Kloiber chimed in. Good old Speedy Petey. Adeti's menu is probably too sophisticated for Adam Gase. His playbook is more like the kids' menu.
I was going to say that little one with
Shout
that
out
comes
to
with the
Speedy
crayons.
Petey, man.
Right?
He knows how to bring it. Exactly. Jason C. Williams chiming back in again. He's a muppet with no voice. He doesn't have the heart to challenge Gase because he's scared. Martin Steele again. We go from 7-9 to 0-13. What the fuck? Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Mark Britt chimes in. We need new ownership. Yeah. Another one here. Jason C. Williams. Sam is a bust. The reason why the Jets address is One Jets Drive is it's because every game the Jets are only good for one drive.
Wow. Man.
Wow.
Yo,
Comment of the day.
That one is good.
Sam right now,
Put the heart on that one. I like that
one. Killing Sam right now, man. I don't know if that's a little harsh, but yeah, I mean, look.
Yeah,
Sam hasn't played well. We can't argue that. I don't know, man. Sam being a scrub. I'm not sure if I'm not on that page.
All right, so Martin Steele chimed in again. We picked up Becton. He doesn't do much as a first year in NFL player. I don't know so much about that. I mean, he's actually had he's probably their best offensive player. Believe it or not.
That's a bad take.
More Pro Bowl votes than any other O lineman in the NFL.
Nah, that's a bad take.
No.
Becton is the dog right now.
Yeah,
100%.
So
only untouchable player on this team.
Exactly, right now. Exactly.
So Scott Gillespie taking a bow, saying thank you. David Albertson says it's all good. Jason C. Williams says you guys are awesome. Thank you, Jason. Keep on listening. Keep subscribing. Make sure you subscribe every single week. All right, Finnegan Summers. Shout out to him.
Yes, Finnegan.
Going through, man, he's going through something fierce up there in Maine. Dude, we wish you well. We hope you're doing okay. Love you guys.
You're still in my prayers, Vin. You're still in my prayers,
Finn.
man. No question.
Yep. So shout out to him as Finnegan Summers. He anybody who knows Finnegan from any of the Jets groups, he is undergoing cancer treatment. And man, he's suffering something fierce, but you know what? He is a trooper. Definitely, if you are not following him on Facebook, I suggest you do. He drops a lot of Jets knowledge, and you know what? He really does. You know what? Let's raise our glasses today. This is for Finnegan. Finnegan, we love you, bro. Cheers, salud.
Salud. And this is Rome.
All right. So, David Albertson shouting out Finnegan Summers, sending love and prayers. Yeah, so again, thank you for everybody who is commenting on the show. Keep them coming. We'll get them on the air. So now we're going to transition over to our next subject. All right, I gave Jimmy an assignment. The top 5 head coaching candidates going into the offseason. Okay? The hot names. But before we do that, I want to turn the floor over to Mr. Daniel Kelly, because he and I were having a little bit of a nice conversation, and he actually he sent me a nice little outline of some of the things that he wanted to talk about a little bit tonight. So I want to give him a few minutes to kind of go through what he wanted to do. So
thank you,
Daniel. The floor is yours, my friend. Go for it.
Thank you. I think it's a time for change for the New York Jets. I know that in 1998, when Bill Parcells came in, he changed everything. He changed the entire culture of the organization. He broke up all the cliques. He changed the uniform. He changed everything, and he brought a winning culture into the organization. It was actually 97. I started with the Jets in 1998, and it was obvious that the Jets had one mission and one mission only, and that was to win the Super Bowl. And that's something that nothing else was tolerated. So what I would like to talk about tonight is I'm actually proposing to become the next general manager of the New York Jets. And I have a proposal put together for Mr. Johnson, and I know exactly how to do this. And so what I would like to start with is if I get this opportunity to run the New York Jets organization, the first thing I would talk about at the podium when I came up to the podium and after the season is I would walk up to the podium and say, New York Jets, Super Bowl 56 champions.
Wow. Okay.
Like it.
All right. You got my attention.
Dang, we're listening.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that sets the tone right from the go. And what I'm proposing to Mr. Johnson is to become the first general manager in NFL history to work on 100% commission. No base salary, pay per victory.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh,
That's-
okay. So now we're going back to
Okay.
70s old
Yep.
school.
No, now we're speaking the Johnson's language. Now we're
Okay.
Absolutely. Pay per victory. Put my money where my mouth is.
exactly.
And because what this is about instilling belief. Because if the conviction is authentic, it will resonate. And if it resonates, the team will believe. And if the team believes, they'll take that action. The leader has to see the promised land. We cannot have another person come in and say, oh, I hope we make the playoffs. Oh, I hope we're competitive. Oh, I hope we win some games. No, if the leader of the team does not see the promised land, they are never going to get there, because as the general manager goes, so goes the team.
Yeah,
Because-
I completely agree.
Absolutely. Because what I believe, guys, and I've been around all the best from the time I was a kid. From Joe Gibbs, when I was a kid, I designed a play that worked for a touchdown when I was 17, to interning with Tony Dungy when I was 21, to convincing Bill Belichick and locking eyes with him to hire me when I was 24, and Bill Parcells, to almost getting hired by Andy Reid with the Philadelphia Eagles, to interviewing on Washington last year. I know for a fact that very little separates 90% of the talent in the National Football League. Yeah, you have 10% of the players that are superstars, but the rest of the guys are all big. They're all fast. They can all do the same types of things. The game is won or lost from the neck up. It starts with belief. And I'm prepared to stand up there on 100% commission and declare the New York Jets as Super Bowl champions next season. Because I believe any 53-man roster can win as long as they believe. And that's what I'm going to bring to the New York Jets, is that belief right off the bat. Nothing else will be tolerated. Nothing else will be accepted. Because Bill Belichick, when he won those Super Bowls, the motto around that building was no excuses. And that's what we're going to be about.
Yeah.
We're going to believe from day one. We're going to believe. And I have a plan that's outlined of how we can do that. And it's a very revolutionary plan. It's a very different plan. It's a very unique plan. It's a plan that talks about instilling a positive environment from day one. Because one of the first things that Parcells did when he came in is everybody thought it was a little bit silly, but he put signs around the building, motivational, inspirational sayings. He brought people in to instill that belief. And that's something that I want to do. And what the first thing I'm going to do, we talk about head coaches, CJ, right? Is I'm going to bring in the most aggressive coach in America. I'm going to bring in the most confident coach in America, because you have to be aggressive and you have to be confident and you have to be innovative. Now, I remember back in the day when Bobby Beathard, the old Redskins general manager, he walked into the owner's office and he said, I have a coach for you. And he said, who is that? And he said, Joe Gibbs. And Mr. Cook said, Joe who? Right? Joe who? Joe Gibbs. Nobody knew who he was. I have a coach right now that's more aggressive than Bill Belichick. I have a coach right now that has more confidence than Bill Belichick. I have a coach right now that Bill Belichick himself leans on for information if you type up his name on Google, and somebody who he consults with on a regular basis. It's Kevin Kelly. You guys ever heard of the name?
No, not at all. Please.
Kevin Kelly is the most aggressive, innovative coach in the world. He is my next head coach of the New York Jets. He is a high school coach right now at Pulaski Academy in Arkansas. He is the only coach in America that does not punt. He never punts. He goes for an every fourth down. That's the kind of faith, that's the kind of aggression that this guy has.
That's the kind of aggression that can beat the New England Patriots and beat Bill Belichick. That's what will win in this league. And you know what, guys? He has won 7 state championships doing this. He's been on HBO's Inside the NFL. If you type in his name on Google, he's all over the place. He has mathematically and scientifically proven that this will win. And Belichick, like I said, leans on him heavily. Scott Pioli, who's Parcells' son-in-law, who was my boss at the New York Jets, has talked to him. This is the guy that can get the job done. And that's who I want as my head coach, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to come in and we're going to instill belief. We are going to instill extreme aggression into the New York Jets. We're going to infuse the New York Jets with that type of mentality and that type of thought process. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name my starting franchise quarterback. And I know, CJ, you and I talked about this off air.
Yeah,
Tim
guys.
Tebow.
Tim Tebow.
I'm bringing Tim Tebow back. To me, Tim Tebow, we saw it in Denver. We saw what he can do. He can lift everybody's play. He can bring the best out of everybody. Yes, he's been out of the league for a few years, but everywhere he's ever been, he has won. And all he's been doing ever since, and I don't think he really got a fair shake with the Jets last time around. I don't know about you guys.
No, I don't think he did either. You and I talked about this privately, and I felt like that he wasn't really given an opportunity to really compete with Mark Sanchez. But I guess my only concern about bringing Tim Tebow in at this juncture over here is that he's been removed from football for so long. Do you think that he would still be the answer?
Absolutely. I had the privilege of sitting next to Lee Steinberg, who's the best agent in the history of the National Football League, who's Patrick Mahomes' agent right now. I sat next to him in 2012, coming back from Mobile, Alabama, in the Senior Bowl to Houston. And I actually sat right next to him on the plane. And of course, this is the guy they modeled, the movie Jerry Maguire, right, after and all that, right? And what Lee Steinberg sat there and told me, he said, listen, Daniel, quarterbacks are like a fine wine. They take time. They take time to process. They take time to mature. And I remember that saying, and I remember him talking about Rich Gannon, a guy who basically started with there was a receiver out of Delaware, played for the Vikings, if you guys remember him at all, for a few years. Went to the Chiefs. Went to the first actually Washington, then the Chiefs. He bounced around, and then all of a sudden he ends up in Oakland. And he goes to the Super Bowl and he becomes the NFL MVP at 39 years old or whatever he was. So yeah, I absolutely believe Tim Tebow can do it. Tim Tebow is a leader of men. Tim Tebow can step into that lotto and he can say, listen, this is what we're going to do. And they're going to do it. He could tell those guys, hey, listen, let's go over to the sideline. Let's walk on water on 3. And those guys are going to go try to do just that. And not only is Tim Tebow going to be my franchise starting quarterback, but I'm also going to make Tim Tebow my assistant general manager. He's going to be the first dual role guy in the history of the National Football League. He's going to be a guy that's going to be a player on the field, and he's going to assist me in touching everything and everybody who walks in the building. So that's my assistant GM as well. And then what we're going to do is we're going to instill an environment of extreme belief and extreme aggression, because again, right, the game is won or lost from the neck up. And what we're going to do is my defensive coordinator is going to be Ray Lewis.
Wow.
Okay.
Ray Lewis. I mean, he can get guys to run through a brick wall, right? Ray Lewis is a guy who's expressed interest in coaching, and it's a guy that's a locker room guy. It's a guy like Bill Parcells who can carry a locker room. He's a player's coach, and they will respond to Ray. Ray Lewis is my defensive coordinator. Tim Tebow is going to be the starting quarterback and the assistant general manager. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to make the announcement that no longer will the New York Jets have a punter on their roster. We are going to go for it on every single 4th down. We're done playing. And you know what's happened? What's happened is Kevin Kelly's done this again in high school, and he's won 7 state championships. I've done all the research. Belichick talks to him all the time. This is something that will win. the thing comes down to is we're going to put together the most dynamic, diverse coaching staff in the National Football League. If Mr. Johnson will give me the chance, I'm confident I can put together a Hall of Fame staff within 3 weeks. I told the same thing to Mr. Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, in 2017. I wrote him a card. Within 3 weeks, he responded to me and asked me for my ideas, which resulted in a 166-page proposal I sent to him. And that staff is going to put together ideas that the NFL has never seen before in different wins, aggression wins, belief wins. And we're going to put that staff together. Now, one of the first moves on the chessboard is we're going to go out and we're going to sign the top 5 or 10 special teams players in the National Football League. Back when I was with the Jets, I was the first ever special teams scout in the history of the NFL, my 3rd season in the league. I learned from that process, from looking at every single kickoff return, punt returner player in the league. I wrote a 350-page book when I worked with Coach Mike Sweatman, and then I worked with Coach Westhoff. I learned that if you have the best special teams in the league, you can control the field position. And if you control the field position, your offense obviously is going to be in a better mathematical, a better statistical starting field position than if you don't. And adversely, on the other side of the coin, on defense, you're going to be able to put the other team in a worse starting field position. If you have the best special teams in the NFL, you have a much better likelihood of winning the games. And then the next thing I'm going to do, and I know this is going to ruffle a lot of feathers.
Let me tell you something. The comments over here are just completely blowing up with I
think the feathers were ruffled after the Tim Tebow tape.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I expect.
A whole bunch of feathers got ruffled.
Now, let me give some people that are commenting a little bit of perspective. Daniel Kelly, the gentleman on the screen, he actually got the opportunity to work with Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, Charlie Weiss, worked with Mike Westhoff. So guys that he's talking about, he's been exposed to between the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, etc. And then also he's got a book out there called Whatever It Takes. So, I mean, if you're talking about a guy who's who's motivated, now you may or may not agree with everything he just talked about here, but this is a guy who's been there. This is a guy who's been in an NFL pro scouting. So don't take what he says lightly. Yeah, I think Tim Tebow a little bit, maybe, I don't want to say far-fetched, but I just think that the game at this point now might have passed him by, although his skill set would probably actually be pretty good for today's game. But, I mean, hey, look, not everybody's going to agree with the points that are being put out here, but I still think it's very interesting. So, Daniel, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I appreciate that, CJ and guys. And this is going to be the next point, is that hunger wins. That's my philosophy. And I appreciate what you guys are saying. And what I'm going to do, depending on who's there or what happens, but more than likely what I'm going to do is I'm going to trade out of rounds 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to pick up as many fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh round draft picks as humanly possible. I watched growing up. I watched Bobby Beathard, who in my mind is the greatest general manager in NFL history, a Hall of Fame general manager. I watched him build the Washington football team with only 2 first-round picks in like 11 or 12 years. Most of those Washington teams he put together were teams with guys who were in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, free agents. He brought all these guys in from all these different places and all these low-round draft picks, if you guys remember. And that's who I learned from. That's who I say mentored me as a young man, like when I was a boy. That's what I watched growing up. And he was the only general manager in NFL history to put together not only hiring Joe Gibbs, but he also was able to build a team. And now Charlie Casserly won the last Super Bowl 26 with Washington. But in essence, he put together 3 different teams that won the Super Bowl with 3 different quarterbacks. And all 3 quarterbacks were pretty much cast-offs or low-round draft picks. He brought Joe Theismann from the Canadian Football League. He brought in Doug Williams, who was a cast-off that played in the USFL. And he brought in Mark Rippon, who was a 6th-round draft pick. This guy knew talent. And to me, hunger wins. I don't want prima donnas on the Jets anymore. I don't want guys that feel entitled anymore, or guys that feel like they're owed something. I want guys that are hungry and guys that will play their heart out every single snap. And those guys are found, I believe, in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds in the undrafted free agents. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick up as many because I believe it's possible to beat the NFL selective process and basically bring in guys that other people maybe not esteem as highly, or guys that nobody else wants, like these special teams players I'm talking about, and build an absolute powerhouse that will destroy the rest of the National Football League. So that's the next thing I would like to do. And really different wins. I've seen that. We've seen that throughout the years, right, guys? We've seen Bill Walsh, right, with the West Coast offense. We've seen Mouse Davis with the run and shoot. We've seen Soprano down in Miami with the Wildcats. Different wins. And what we're going to do is because the whole NFL is very reactive. I don't know if you guys have seen this throughout the years, but the NFL is very reactive. It's a read and react. You go 3 receivers, I go nickel. You go 4 receivers, I go dime. That's done. We're done with all the tendency charting, everything else. What we're going to do is we're going to have a system offensively that's going to be completely and utterly unpredictable. Now, that's not going to make people too happy as far as the point spreads are concerned, but our system is going to be so dynamic and so unpredictable. It's going to be almost virtually impossible for teams to prepare for us from a defensive standpoint. On defense, we're going to put together, I already have a coach from the Canadian Football League that's putting together a defense that the National Football League has never seen before.
Yes, I have to say one thing. If anybody out there has watched CFL football, let me tell you, Canadian football, some of their defensive packages, and mind you, they do 3 downs. They don't do 4 downs. And not only that, they're also playing on a field that's wider than a regular NFL field, and they're also playing 110 yards. So their rules are slightly different from the NFL's. But some of their defensive schemes are like utterly ridiculous. And I mean, you watch some of those schemes, and it's like, wow, it's like how did they know that this was coming? How do they defend? How do they jumpstart the offense against this type of attack or that type of attack? And especially, they also constantly have a guy who's in motion, sort of like you saw the Arena Football League have, where you had one receiver that was allowed to have a 5-yard head start, but was not allowed to cross the line of scrimmage until the ball was hyped. So you saw a little bit of that. You saw circle motions, which you start to see a little bit more in the NFL. So really quick, I want to go through some of the comments over here. Daniel, you have a few people intrigued in what you're saying here. Juan Pablo Granda, shout out to him. Daniel Kelly, you should be head coach. Hey, I'd be on board.
Thank you.
And then, you have the other end of the spectrum in which there are guys that don't agree with your opinion. Although there is somebody here who I want to get on, Jason C. Williams, shout out to him. But you need an owner that will believe in his plan. And at this point, Daniel, anything is better than what the Jets are putting out. You got to have that chemistry and be coachable. No more Jamal Adams divas. So I agree with that point. This is actually a funny comment. I want to put this out. Then Ethiopia will have the best team ever if hunger wins.
You know what?
No,
Look, Dan, you're shaking the cage a little bit right now,
right?
And what it is that you're talking about. And I'll just be honest with you. Well, at least not in my lifetime, really, have we ever seen what it looks like to put together a Super Bowl caliber team. So anything that we look at as of right now has to kind of be seen through that lens. You were part of Parcells' staff, and that was probably one of the closest that we've ever been to it since then. And I mean, not to mention, what we saw with what Mangini put together when Rex took to the AFC Championship back-to-back those seasons. But what it is that we saw is that we didn't see them build upon that success. We actually saw them dismantle those situations. And, again, outside the box thinking is always going to be, something that is welcome. Does it actually work? I mean, it's difficult to say, but I mean, I would imagine most people should be intrigued by what it is that you're saying, because it actually goes against most of what I guess the common wisdom is about how it is that you do it. And I don't know. Again, you make some great points. The Tebow thing for me scared the shit out of me. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not, you know what I'm saying?
Listen, the Tebow thing, dude. Who the hell is it? Oh my God, I gotta go.
I'm just saying,
I gotta go
look,
back.
because I saw Tebow as a guy who was able to kind of make things happen in that situation, but I also saw him as a unfortunately not talented enough quarterback to actually make it consistent. And that to me is what it is that you
Right.
need. You need to have that consistency. I mean, yeah, it'd be great if he can pull out a win here or win there, but when what it is that we have is, the deficiencies that we have, the holes that we have, just talking about this particular organization, again, that it kind of puts me on edge. But I mean, look, we'd have to see it work. You know what I'm saying? And I'll just be honest with you. I hope they take you serious. I hope they give you a shot. I hope they listen to your ideas, because again, we have to think outside of the box. Who knows? I mean, I've said this a few times also. We're not going to know who the guy is. He's just going to show up and he's going to end up being the guy. And all of this hope and wishing and having expectations and all of that, that's dangerous for us as Jets fans, because we are always let down by those expectations.
Well, that's always one of the things there, Kevin. Sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to get this in there because you actually stirred something in my head when you were talking. One of the things here, it's like two words that are constantly a part of New York Jet fans' vocabulary: if and hope. And we are so tired of those two goddamn words.
Yeah, man.
Okay? We really are. Because you know what? It's like we've been ifing if this happens and we hope that this will happen, for the past decade. And it's been an absolute joke. Can we actually put a competitive product on the football field that we could say it's not if, it's when? Okay? It's not if we make the playoffs. It's when we make the playoffs. How deep will we come? When we take the field next year, will we actually make a run at the AFC East title? Can we have a home playoff game? Or when we have a home playoff game, then people will see the true potential of this football team. I mean, we are just so tired of the words if and the word hope.
Yeah.
That right now it becomes white noise to the Jet fan, to the average Jet fan. The diehard Jet fan, forget it. They're already, taking the Prozac, the Xanax, and whatever other antidepressant or benzodiazepine they can get their hands on besides alcohol.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, just to calm down. So I mean, like all of us are just we all have as Jet fans. We know that we feel the need for change. We know that there needs to be change. And the problem is that the people that are pushing the buttons of the machine, they don't see what we see. They don't see what we see, and we're just fans. Okay. I don't have any media credentials. I don't have any media passes. You know who I am? I'm just a guy who sits on my who sits on my couch. I watch football. I eat chicken wings and I drink beer. Okay, and I yell at the TV. And my wife laughs at me all the time. And she says to me, "I don't understand why you watch this team. You get aggravated every Sunday. Why are you going to let this team, aggravate you on a Sunday?" All right, but I love this team. I've been watching this team for 40 plus years. And for me, the emotional investment, dedicating my Sundays, dedicating my time to doing this broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce our guest in just a moment. The financial investment. When you go and buy a T-shirt, you buy a jersey, you buy a mug, you buy a sticker, a car magnet. Okay, you buy a face mask or something to represent your team. You buy something to represent your team because this is how much you love them. Okay, and then the people that are pulling the purse strings, the only thing they give a shit about is money. Okay, and they don't give a shit about the product that's on the field. And the product on the field is not worth the money that they're asking people to pay for the price of admission to get into MetLife Stadium. In a crappy stadium with crappy acoustics, with a crappy fan experience, that the majority of the time for Jets home games, there are more visiting fans than there are home fans. So we really don't have a home field advantage. It's like the New York Jets, even in our own building, we're still the redheaded stepchild. So us as fans, we've reached our breaking point. That's why a lot of us have come out and have publicly said, if Adam Gase is retained next year for 2021, we're boycotting the Jets. There are people that have already canceled their PSLs, canceled their season tickets. And I expect that if Adam Gase is not fired on Black Monday, that there will be more people that will do the same. And see, here's the thing, Daniel. We need people like you to shake management out of apathy. Okay, because Joe Douglas is not going to walk into the Johnson & Johnson chemistry plant and tell Christopher Johnson or Woody Johnson how to make baby powder. He doesn't know how to make baby powder. He's a football guy. What the fuck does he need to know? So why is Woody Johnson or Christopher Johnson going to hire an outside headhunting firm, a headhunting football firm, designed in finding the best candidates, which is bullshit too? Okay? You have football people in the building. Let your football people do their job. Right. And you just sit there. You'll be involved in the process. You'll be involved in the interview process. You got to write the check. But let the next head coach of the New York Jets be Joe Douglas's guy. All right. A few weeks back, I gave the job to Scott Klesby, but you know what? He's been sleeping on the job. He's been betting against the Jets. You know what? Screw him. Scott, you're fired.
Scott knows how to make money, man.
Exactly. He does know how to make money, though. Okay. So, you know, when you brought up Kevin Kelly, you brought up a lot of good points in your outline, Daniel. And one thing that I admire about you the most is your passion, because you share the same passion as everybody on this panel. So, and now I'd like to turn the floor over to our guest who joined us a little bit late. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Daniel Forrestein. Daniel, how are you tonight?
Well, it's very good to see you again, CJ. It's also very good to see Kevin. Hello, gentlemen. Hope that everyone on the panel is doing all right.
Good to have you back.
You know, I have to say that the one thing that really, really bothers me is when you have an inept owner, especially a fraud owner like Mr. Christopher Johnson is, where you have to basically listen to your head coach and have him beg you to fire the defensive coordinator. Christopher Johnson did not have the balls, nor did he have the mindset to do it himself. But then again, before this game was played, it's like what, four games remaining left of this horrible season. So all of a sudden, because you didn't like the play calling on the final play of the game, which, let me just say this, I didn't care, because you had a feeling the Raiders were going to get a game-winning touchdown anyway. But you had, at this time, 4 games left, and now you decided to fire the defensive coordinator, who was not fired by the owner, who was not fired by anybody that's in ownership or in the front office, not even the lackey general manager of Adam Gase, Joe Douglas. Oh, I had to run it by Joe Douglas. I had to run it by the president. I had to run it by Christopher Johnson because I wanted him fired. So you're telling me the 3 men who are supposed to have the authority to fire this guy, Adam Gase wanted the authority? Are we understanding now that the head coach is actually running this NFL team? When was the last time Adam Gase made over billions and trillions of dollars in the pharmaceutical industry, or billions and trillions of dollars in any type of, let's say hotel ownership, let's say probably a big wig and maybe government, state government, city government, national government? Or how about supermarket chains. You know what I mean? Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, Arby's, somewhere else in the north or in the south, or maybe even Canada, Dunkin' Donuts, maybe, Tim Hortons, I don't know. You are allowing the head coach to fire a member of his coaching staff when it should have been him that should have been fired before this game against the Seattle Seahawks. I don't have any problems with any of the players. They're trying their best. They're showing that they don't want to tank. They want to go out there. They want to get a win. I give them credit for that. But the sad truth is that either they're not good enough because they're still too young. They don't know the schemes. They don't know the playbook. The truth is, you don't want to know the playbook because Adam Gase is a loser.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, forget about something smells rotten in Denmark, because it smells rotten somewhere along the Hackensack River near the Garden State Parkway and the New Jersey Turnpike, because this man has been a snake oil salesman, a snake charmer, and for some stupid reason, Christopher Johnson, his ears are that stupid and dumb to listen to everything he says to him. Christopher Johnson should have said no. You will keep your defensive coordinator whether you like it or not. This entire situation has been absolutely disgusting. The last time I was on your show, CJ, about 2 weeks ago, I know that Snowman came on and said, he knew your rant you had was basically, it was coming for a long time. That's how I felt. Every time I watch the Jets and every time a new Jets season starts, I always try to find a positive side. Maybe they will go 8-8 and make the playoffs. Maybe they'll go 9-7. I don't know about 10-6, but I'll give it a shot. I try to find a positive thing to tell me that the Jets are going to have a good season and that we're going to the playoffs. And I hope for a solid run to the Super Bowl. For the first time in my life, after they went 7-9 at the end of last year, this is what I've told all my friends. And this is what I've said, and I've stuck with this since the beginning of the season. The only way Adam Gase should stay here is if he has no. Just Kevin, wait, Kevin, let me I just want to explain myself. You got to listen first before you shake your head no. I said the only way Adam Gase saves his job in the first 4 games of this season, he's got to go either 3-1 or 4-0. If he goes the reverse, if he goes 1-3 or 0-4, 2-2 is like he might stay, he might go. But if I said if he goes 1-3 or 0-4, he should be packing his bags, heading back to wherever hole he came from, and dig himself back in it. What does Christopher Johnson do? The gutless piece of garbage said after the loss to the Denver Broncos, not so much that they were undermanned, but they had a third-string quarterback. Granted, legacy because of his uncle, who was a damn good quarterback himself, won a Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins. The truth is, Adam Gase has won nothing. Adam Gase had maybe by chance took the Dolphins to the playoffs in his first year. But from that point on, he's done absolutely goddamn nothing.
He's been living
somehow he's still here.
Peyton affiliation.
That's right. Peyton Manning affiliation, like I said last time.
Hey, Ryder.
I am pissed off.
Yeah.
Still pissed off.
I'm still saying that the only way Gase could even possibly even create any momentum for him keeping his job is if he was to get James Morgan to win every remaining game this season by a 28-point margin. And we know that ain't even going to happen. So, I mean, it's just an unrealistic thing for me right now. Adam Gase has proven himself to be incapable of handling the job at this level. And to be perfectly honest with you, and I said this in one of our YouTube chats a couple of weeks ago, I would hope that after this situation, Adam Gase was never able to find another job on any level other than, junior high JV, because I'll be honest with you,
No.
I don't think he's actually even put up enough effort or enough of that genius, whatever, to dictate that he's actually capable of doing anything beyond that level. Adam Gase
Can't wish that on them
Adam
kids,
Gase
man.
might have been the worst organizational decision I've seen this team make in almost my 40 years is Adam Gase.
I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah,
I
that's the
agree.
worst because before him it was Rich Kotite.
Yep.
But it wasn't Johnson's call, it was Leon Hess's call.
Exactly.
Right.
But it hurt Hess, and we talked about this last week. That really bothered Hess. It doesn't bother the Johnsons. They love this.
Yeah, I don't understand why. That's the whole reason why I put out my whole rant a few weeks back about that. I want this team to go 0-16. I want them to be embarrassed. I want the Johnsons to be publicly embarrassed. I want them to be embarrassed in NFL circles to the point where this stink will only go away if you do one of two things: either grab yourself by the balls and fix it, or sell the team.
Exactly. That's what has to happen. And here's another thing that really bothers me about Christopher Johnson, as well as Woody Johnson, actually, because everybody knows what happened with a certain New York Daily News beat writer who's no longer the beat writer of the New York Jets. And I hope he also lost his job at the Daily News. Manish Mehta. You know, it's not so much, well, you know, he's a very creepy guy and an idiot guy. And, you know, he's one of those that likes to create the problems that he writes articles about. To have him go after Joe Douglas's kid was just absolutely creepy. And you
was
know,
that actually confirmed?
That was confirmed.
It was confirmed by both Chris Carlin of ESPN Radio New York and Michael Kay of ESPN Radio New York. Now, here's what Michael Kay also said, because we all know Michael Kay is from the Bronx. Doug Marrone, who's currently the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach. I don't know for how long, but we'll see what happens. Apparently, Manish Mehta somehow got the ear of Woody Johnson, because basically Doug Marrone, who left Buffalo, was ready to come to the Jets.
Yeah, he was.
Coach. Now, I'm not saying he would have been my first choice, but as always, I like to give
would have given him a shot in the Bronx.
I like to give him a fair shot.
From Fordham or something like that. Did he play football for Fordham or something?
Something like that. Basically, if you're the owner of the New York Jets, at the time it was still Woody Johnson, and you are listening to a beat reporter, you're getting his advice to tell you who you should or shouldn't hire as the head coach of this football team. What red flags does that say or signal to you that while I did give credit to Woody Johnson for trying to go, you know, like a football way to bring in Mike McCagnon and Todd Bowles to this team, that's fine, whatever. This now tells me that the Johnson brothers are officially inept and stupid and dumb because they won't listen to their football people because they think they know better. I'm not saying that you can't decide who should be the head coach or not, but you should allow your football people, the people who know this game back and forth, up and down, left and right, who to bring over to head coach this team, this franchise, and who else should also be brought in to be the general manager. This is not just half-assed backwards, it's completely ass backwards. This really makes me mad and angry because if you're going to listen to a beat reporter from one of the newspapers, let me just say this, the New York Daily News has fallen down tremendously. The once proud New York Daily News that I used to grab the newspaper as a kid. I didn't give a damn about the regular news. I went for the back pages, for the sports pages, because I trusted every single sports writer from Frank Iasola, from Bill Madden, Mike Lupica, all and every sports reporter out there that covered every single team. Even Michael Kay was a sports reporter for the New York Daily News. And you allow this twerp, this garbage beat reporter who has no damn business writing about anything in New York sports or regular sports for that matter. All he does is sensationalize everything he types. And that includes the stupid burner account he created against Adam Gase.
Right.
That man, honestly,
that was ridiculous.
That man deserves to be thrown out
Look.
of the industry completely because he makes other beat writers in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, tri-state area,
Look bad.
he makes them feel very difficult to work with him. And at the same time, he embarrasses the industry for what it should be doing. Honest reporting about the Jets.
Exactly.
You want to say you were wrong about Adam Gase? That's fine. But it's the other crap he's done that's really made the Johnsons stupid and dumb because they don't care what type of news they get. They don't care if it's great news, good news, bad news, fucked up news, or we don't give a shit if we're in a goddamn fire.
All free publicity is
fire.
good publicity. All free publicity.
That's
is good
right.
publicity for them.
It really
you came in bringing the heat, my man. I'm going to be honest with you, and I think that it's a sad day for our beat when this guy gets exposed for what it is that I think a lot of us have maybe already seen in him. I know, Jim, you say you don't really do Twitter, but I've had my little Twitter beefs with Manish before because I just believe that he had more. It was more personal with him than it actually was about the team, and I don't think you should have a personal spin on anything like that, especially when you're dealing with an organization like the Jets, who will let you down as much as this team actually does. But I'm going to keep it real. That really is kind of one of the best segues into what it is that we really were kind of saving for the piece de resistance of the show tonight. And
absolutely.
That is our conversation about Jeremy Schaap and Jeremy Schaap's comments about I guess Trevor Lawrence and his I guess maybe his unfortunate feelings about the Jets being in that role to have the number one pick coming into this draft.
Actually,
I feel bad for him right now. Yeah. I feel bad for him. I have other Jet fans, other friends are Jet fans, and they've said to me, "Why does anyone want to come here? Why do head coaches want to come here?" And meanwhile, we're talking about, I'd like to have Eric Bieniemy. I'd like to have this guy. Who would I like to give a second chance to? And I understand what you're saying, CJ. We don't want to retread. Once in a while, I think about it. Well, what would have happened if we would have kept Rex? I mean, honestly, what would have happened? What would have happened? Maybe we give Jim Harbaugh another opportunity or something like that. Because of the magic he's done in San Francisco. No. I'm just speaking. I'm just speaking out a little bit. The truth is this. The truth is this. I don't know what's going to be the future for this team. I really don't know. And you're throwing out names. Well, who do we want to bring over? Who do we want to have? Who do we want to give an opportunity to build a program here, to build this team the right way? Who are we trying to bring over? Who do we want? Who do we don't want? And the real question is this. Who wants to come here with an ownership, this inept, this stupid, and all they care about is money? And as soon as I heard you before I came in, as soon as they realize that the money they're going to get from season ticket holders, along with the PSLs that are charged a part of it, in the lower deck, in the middle, in the mezzanine, not in the upper, but when they're going to lose money from the stands, and what's going to happen when CBS and Fox are going to show a Jet home game, and there's nobody in the stands with the exception of the visiting road fans, the visiting Raider fans that live in the New York City area, the fucking Steeler fans, the Dolphin fans, the Patriot fans, all these other turncoats that live in New York City, are born in New York City, but they root for a different team because they don't want to be a Jet fan.
I think, to be honest with you, what the expectation, and I mean, we've been talking about this in particular for the past couple of weeks here, but I think a lot of the perception around that team changes when those fans come into our house over the course of these next couple of seasons. And again, going back to CJ's point, if we do what it is that we're supposed to do and we start whooping their ass.
That's right.
What we're looking at right now is, again, one of the situations where it is a big if, but I don't know. We said this, quite a few times. It said this after Itzik, said this after McCagnon, and I'll be honest. I think I'm probably much more confident in saying it now after Douglas comes in that maybe we have a guy who really knows what it is that he's doing. We don't know yet because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it done. But I'll say this: the players that Douglas has brought in so far have far outperformed what it is that we've seen that these last few cats bring in. I mean, the early returns are what it is that they are. Mekhi Becton, and we touched upon him already, dog. Denzel Mims, from what it is that we've seen so far, the kid has all the ability to be a dog. And when we talk about, you know, ceilings and floors, Mims has that ceiling, man. If you know, I would be hard pressed to say that Denzel Mims with a Trevor Lawrence or with a Justin Fields, or even with, you know, maybe some of the third or fourth guys coming in, it looks like that guy's going to eat, man. So we'll see how it works out. But as of right now, I feel much more confident in what we have now than where it is that we were then. And again, that kind of brings me back to the whole Jeremy Schaap thing, because it just the microcosm of what it is that he's saying about how this, and I mean, obviously he's dealing with this organization, and you know, there's clips out there where it's been exposed that Jeremy Schaap has his animosity towards the Jets. So again, this commentary is personal, but the take was just so horribly bad that it just kind of leaves me into, this is one of those things that keeps Jets fans as Jets fans, even with all of the negativity that it is that we have to deal with. All right. Yep. Because now you're coming from my boys, right? Even as bad as we are, now you're coming from my boys, right? And I can talk shit about the Jets, but let you talk about them. I'm gonna throw a brick at you, right? And this is kind of where it is that I'm at right now with this Jeremy Schaap shit. And just more than anything, it pisses me off because it goes against the entire premise of what the competition is supposed to be about. That's the reason why it's set up the way that it is. Because if you are that bad, then listen, you do need to put yourself in a position to create some parity. Who wants to watch one team be good for 20 years in a row and not have any competition? Who wants to see that? Maybe the fans of that team, maybe they want to see that. But to be perfectly honest with you, what kind of fan are you if your team doesn't have any competition and you're just kicking everyone's ass? You're not actually proving anything. You're not actually saying that we're the best because we beat the best. We're the best because we get the first round draft pick every season, because we win the championship every season, and nobody else can actually compare to that. So if you want to be the best, you have to whoop somebody else's ass that's good. And if there are no other good teams, because all you do is reward the winners with winning or with whatever, you know, Jeremy Schaap, that bullshit that he's talking about, then that is what the problem is. And just to remove football from the entire equation here, because that's something that it kind of touched me on a different level. If you just remove the football from it, what it is that you're saying is that in this society, the way that it stands now, with government, with politics, with society, with the stock market and finances and the economy, with all of those things being what it is that they are, and you're saying that the rich should be written in to become richer while everyone else is relegated to nothing, and because you're not rich now means that you will never or should never be rich, you should just become obsolete. I almost said it. Fuck you, Jeremy Schaap. And I said it because that's bullshit. Because that's the largest crock of shit I think I've ever heard. And to be honest with you, that take has had me feeling a certain way. I know, CJ, I'm gonna let you speak on this just in a minute, because I know that we talked about this earlier. But just the fact that this guy has a platform to be able to reach as many people as he does, and this is the type of attitude that he has. And I am wondering again if it really has more to do with the Jets, or if this is just how he feels about life.
First of all, that's an offensive penalty for offensive mixing in politics and sports. That's a 15-yard penalty there, man.
That's one of them. I'll take the foul for the team. You know what I'm saying? I'll take the foul for the team on that one. Look, like the Mims penalty last week when he drags old boy to the ground. I'll take that penalty every day, because now you know what I'm saying.
All right, there we go. There's a whistle.
All right, there we go. All right, I'm done. I'm done.
All right, so you know what? We already started this, so you know what I think we're gonna do? I think it's time for us to drop the tomahawk. All right, what do you think?
Go for it.
Let's do it.
If the clip will actually play. Gotta love soundboard.
Yeah. Call your tech guy.
joke.
You don't pay him enough.
Kevin Jackson.
Spotlight.
All right, Kevin, it's time for you to blow up on this. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, before we actually go and let Kevin go on his parting shot, which I know he just talked a lot about.
I'm sorry.
I want to actually go and play this clip that he just talked about. So just bear with me as I key up this audio, okay? Hopefully it works.
This is America. We worship at the altar of winning. As George C. Scott says, playing the title character in the movie Patton while standing in front of a giant flag addressing his troops, we Americans will not tolerate losing. You know who might have some doubts about the sincerity of our intolerance for losing, of our total focus on winning? I'll tell you who. Trevor Lawrence. If we really prioritized winning, if winning really is all that matters, why do we reward losing? Why would we condemn Lawrence to a future with the New York Jets? Just about everywhere except America, losing in sports is punished. It's called relegation. If you're that bad, you don't get the opportunity to acquire the best young players coming into the sport. No, you get bumped down to a lesser league. And if you fail there, you get bumped down again until you hit rock bottom. But what about competitive balance? Competitive balance? Who cares? If we really cared about competitive balance the way we say we care about winning, they would disqualify, disbar anyone who has anything to do with running the Jets. Isn't that a better way of doing business than awarding the most inept organization in football a player who could be transcendent? Isn't it better for the game to keep him out of the Jets' clutches? Why should Trevor Lawrence or anyone else be sacrificed on the altar of competitive balance? How about instead we reward winning, not just with the Lombardi Trophy, but with the top pick?
Fuck you, Jeremy Schaap. Again.
100%. Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
So,
look, that's
so
like I'm sorry.
ladies and gentlemen, this is the clip that we just played from the Jeremy Schaap talking points from the.
I have a different opinion.
I'm going to.
Right.
I'm going to turn the. First, I want to turn the floor over to Jax because this is his segment. Then we're going to go around the room, give our thoughts. And then afterwards, I want to get to Jimmy's segment, talking about the possible head coaching hire. So let's rock and roll. Jax, you're on.
My God, it raises my blood pressure right now. I'm telling you, right, just to listen to that shit again. Because he's serious about that shit. Like, he really believes that that's the fucking take that you're supposed to have when it comes to... All right. Excuse me, right? Because I don't want to lose it on this, but I'm just going to keep it real. This literally has to be one of the dumbest fucking takes that I've ever heard at all. And I mean, we've heard some stupid shit. This is the Jets, mind you. We've heard some dumb shit. We have, but this in particular, I don't know what makes him feel like he needs to be contrary. I don't know what it is that makes him feel like, you know, him having what I guess amounts to be one of the most unpopular takes when it comes to really excuse me, and I'm trying to think parity, because that's basically what it is that we're talking about. We're talking about parity. We're talking about how it is more exciting to have teams that are on the level to be able to win and to be able to maybe throw some monkey wrenches and some shit and not just be able to do that by being relegated to having 7th round picks. Now, I get, you know, where 7th round picks can actually be, you know, good players, you know, 6 or 7, look, Tom Brady. There are guys who have been those types of players that have come in and that have made, you know, impacts. But what it is that you don't do is you don't actually expect that those guys are going to be the ones that do it for you every season. If every season you're only picking 7th rounders, or you're picking at the very bottom, which means that, you know, you're not putting yourself in a situation to have these transcendental players and have them be able to come in and change the focus or change the trajectory of your franchise. I think that's bullshit take to have. Look, just because you look and just put it in perspective in this, because we've seen some good teams that have literally gone from being in the playoffs to not actually being good at all the following season. So if what you're saying is that it literally is just going to be based on season per season, but as you go along, if you have a great year, then you get the 1st round pick. If you suck, then again, we're going to push you even further down by creating the situation where you're going to continue to suck. We have done it to ourselves. We've picked bad players. We've picked bad coaches. We've had horrible ownership and organizational structures and situations. That's what it is that we do. But the players, I can't necessarily say that it's all on the players in this case. We have decent players. We need better players to be able to pull ourselves out of these things. And I think every team that's in a situation like where it is that we are, we actually, and I mean, look, there's examples. Cleveland. Let's just put that in. Cleveland was 0-16 how many every years ago? Cleveland was the perennial scrubs. They had the first round pick every year. It didn't work for them. They were drafting quarterbacks left and right. Never worked for them. They were drafting all of these players. Never worked for them. Never really got good. And then finally, the little light comes on. They picked the right quarterback, and the organization actually began to start to shape around him what it is that they needed to do. But they needed to do that with some better picks, and they were able to do that. David Njoku, what's the lineman's name? I'm drawing a blank on right now, but that team was able to take that position and transfer it into where this season they're looking like they're a playoff caliber team. They're actually looking like they're going to be a team that is a force to be reckoned with going forward. Possibly that they won't, but that's organizational. Based on the player personnel, they're in a position right now. And why is it that because it's the Jets, we are not to be afforded that same opportunity? That's all I'm saying. You don't take those opportunities away from people because of situations that are maybe are beyond their control or maybe are not. Who knows? Every situation is different. But in this case, Jeremy Schaap has no fucking clue what it is that he's talking about. I'm going to start rambling on this shit because I'm just so fucking pissed off about the fact that we even have to discuss it. So I'm going to let you guys, I'm going to look. Jeremy Schaap is full of shit. That's my in the fucking spotlight. Fuck Jeremy Schaap. Everybody tell me what you think about that shit. Fuck Jeremy Schaap.
100%.
All right, Daniel, I'm going to pitch this over to you. I'm very curious to hear what you have to say because you've been around ESPN officials before. You've been around the ESPN media before. So you've been inside that locker room when the press has been in there. Tell me your thoughts on what Jeremy Schaap just said over here on his parting shots on Outside the Lines. Is he right?
I will say this. I will say both. He is wrong, but in some ways he is right. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to bring the soccer aspect into this because he has watched a lot of soccer as well. In most leagues in the world, like I know everyone watches the Premier League. I don't know if any of you guys watch soccer. If you don't understand it, I understand it's okay. But the point is that
I've watched it, but it's not one of the big sports here.
No, it's growing, but it's not all the way there yet. But let me just tell you why I understand what he said. Because after every season, there's no playoffs in the top, like in the major leagues. The minor leagues are not, these teams in the minors in England are not affiliated with the teams that are in the top league in the major league. So when you finish a season and there's no playoffs, when you finish the season, whatever your record is, the bottom three teams in the standings gets relegated to the AAA league, and the three top teams in the AAA league get promoted to the major league. So in that sense, I understand why he said it. Do I think he is wrong about the Jets? Yeah. Yes. But I understand why he mentioned that. So he's using different mechanisms of sports in a different setting to say that the Jets don't deserve the number one pick because they are dead last in the team. If there was another professional league of NFL football that's under the NFL, then I understand why he's saying it. But I do believe he is wrong. And I do believe that he did overstep his bounds.
Just to kind of piggyback on that, I'll let you guys jump back in. There is no secondary league here.
I know, because he keeps getting thrown out.
Nothing viable anyway. And with that being said,
I want my World League back.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll keep it real. I always thought that was a good idea anyway, just because there are so many guys that don't have the opportunity to make it on this level that are really good and talented players. I
want my New York, New Jersey Knights back.
Look, and the Knights were the best team in New York for a little bit of time.
For the 2 years it was alive.
Yeah, let's keep that real too.
Hey, don't forget about the New York Dragons, man.
Yeah.
That's arena football, though.
I tried out for the Dragons. Trust me, I get it. I get it. So yeah. With that being said, no,
I understand. Like I said, I agree with you, and I agree with you. But but that's why I'm understanding his argument. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So Daniel Kelly, for somebody who's been in the locker room, been around the media, you've worked with Parcells, you've worked with Belichick, you've worked with Weiss, you've worked with Westhoff, you've been around ESPN personnel. You've been around so many people and probably so many stories that you could tell us. Tell me what you think about what Jeremy Schaap just said. Is he right? Does he have a point? Or is he full of shit?
Well, he has an opinion. That's
as far as it goes.
He has an opinion. He has an opinion. It's a contrary point of view. It's an opinion. It's something that who knows? I'm always speculating, but maybe it's something that Trevor Lawrence's people are getting Jeremy Schaap to say out loud. Maybe they're paying him, for lack of a better way of saying it, to come on and make that point of view, because he is that mouthpiece. He does have that avenue to speak on ESPN, and people listen, and all of us start stirring the pot and talking about it. So he's somebody that everybody listens to. Why he said it, I don't really know. It's an opinion he has. To your point, CJ, I have been around ESPN, working in with the Jets with Parcells. I can tell you that ESPN wasn't really highly looked at as an organization. Yeah. I mean, Parcells banned Sal Paolantonio from coming into our building. So he was
Sal.
Sal wasn't even allowed. He wasn't even allowed. They stopped him at the front gate. He wasn't even allowed to come through the front gate of the facility after something had happened there. So
we all love Sal. He's like your Uncle Sal. Come on.
There are reasons, obviously, but yeah.
Oh yeah, once you're on the wrong list with Bill Parcells, that was the end of the story. But so I mean, who knows why he's saying it? I mean, all we can all do is obviously speculate. Myself, all I can do is speculate why he's saying it. It's a contrary position. I know in college football, some of the rich are getting richer with these guys that can transfer into powerhouse, organizations and teams. Maybe he's piggybacking off that, that rationale where just the rich can get richer, but honestly and truly, great teams and great general managers and great head coaches, and we've seen this throughout the history of the National Football League, they can find players at the end of the first round. They can find players in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, free agent players. So the destiny of an organization is not predicated. It's not fixated on, can we get the top draft pick, and if we don't get it, we're not going to be good, or if we get the last pick. There's a lot of guys at the end of the first round have gone on. We've seen it, have gone on to become superstar players. The issue really isn't where the players are picked. The issue is, do the guys in the chairs actually know what they're doing, and do they really care about winning? Or do they care about just collecting a check? Because one of the greatest disillusionments to me in my 4 years in the National Football League with the New York Jets, I got into this thing thinking, that was my demise with the Jets my first time around. I wanted to win, and I thought everybody there wanted to win, and I thought everybody in the National Football League wanted to win, and the fans wanted to win. I grew up as a fan. My story is unique because it's a true story of a fan making to the National Football League. So I got into it thinking to myself, everybody wants to win, only to find out that a lot of the guys actually, that comes second to their paycheck. It comes second to their promotions. And so that was very disillusioning for me. So the key to the thing is, and why I want to be the GM of the Jets, because I want to win. I want to win worse than anybody else in the National Football League, and that's why we will win. Because that's what it comes down to. It comes down to good scouting. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. It comes down to good scouting. It comes down to having somebody in the chair that wants to win, because I can recognize on other people. So I'm going to bring people in the organization that want to win. And that's what it comes down to. It doesn't matter the position the guys are picked in. It matters if they want to win. And sadly, I have a friend that has multiple Super Bowl rings who's been in the league for over 25 years, who I've worked with and know. And he told me point blank, if you take the money on the National Football League, 70% of the people would walk away from the game. And he talks to people all the time. So he knows, and he's been around all the best of the best, basically from all these different teams, and he knows all these people in the NFL. So that's what it comes down to. To me is finding people that want to win and having somebody in that GM's chair that has the vision and the conviction to do it.
If you can rig the lottery for me so I can buy the Jets from the Johnsons, I'll hire you as the GM right off the bat.
Thank you. I accept.
All right.
I accept.
I accept. Your thoughts.
Hey, Daniel, we are 6 numbers away. When people say to me, they say, you know what the odds are to win the lottery? I said, yeah, it's good for everybody else. You're 6 numbers away. So we can hit the Powerball.
That's right.
We can hit this thing and we can do it.
That's right.
I love that. Thank you.
Jimmy, where you at?
So, Jimmy, where are you at on this subject?
I'll tell you what, man. I think this Shap character is all about clickbait. It's super easy for these analysts to bash on the Jets because bad news is good news for these types of reporters. That's right. So if they're telling you the doomsday scenario, everybody needs to watch that. Everybody flocks to it because they want to know what the worst case scenario is going to be. This was clickbait. And the Jets are an easy target, but I'll guarantee you one thing, boys. Not going to be for long.
Hey.
We are not going to be that way for long. And we are trending upwards. You know, like, and I respect a lot of what you're saying, Daniel. Like I said, I'm getting your book.
Thank you.
And I'm looking to kind of make way that direction myself.
Thank you.
But the biggest thing is, and Kevin and CJ, I've said this before on the show, is the Jets need the trifecta, and we have a piece of that right now. We have the Joe Douglas is a piece of that.
Yeah.
Now we need the coach and we need the quarterback, and I think we're on our way to getting both of those. So this Shap guy, and I 100% agree with you, Kevin. I think that take that he had goes way deeper than just football, and that's a man that needs to check his priorities, and he needs to rethink his life lessons, and he needs to shut the fuck up.
The one thing about Joe Douglas is this, and this is my main concern. My main concern is this.
Mm-hmm.
If Adam Gase does get fired, if he is shown the door and he gets his ass kicked through it, does Joe Douglas stay to be his own man to actually have the ability to make better picks in the next draft or two? Or does he just say, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore. My boy has been gone. I'm gone too. That is my concern. Because if he's going to be allowed to make the decisions, if he's allowed to make the decisions to hire the coach, bring in players, draft players, the whole shebang, I'm willing to, let him do what he's got to do. This is just my concern because who got him this job?
Look,
was it the Johnsons?
I
Wait.
gotta say, I think that's overblown. I'm just gonna keep it real.
I'm just saying, I'm hoping. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
I get you. My point is that as I'm looking at this and I'm saying, if Joe Douglas is who it is that we think that he is, how can he go forward believing that Adam Gase is the guy? Just realistically, how can he do that?
No, he can't, because I think that now Joe Douglas, believe it or not, is preparing for life after Adam Gase, and 100%. I can almost guarantee you that at one point or another he has had conversations with Christopher Johnson already, or probably had conversations behind closed doors that we are not privy to. Yeah. That shit needs to change, and shit needs to change right away.
Not only that,
no, I hope so. I hope so.
He's gonna have to look at it in terms of saying, as of right now, my contract is ticking. That's and right. I need to go ahead and start making some moves in order to solidify my legacy here. And what's first and foremost is, to Jimmy's point, and again, when you said it, the little light comes on, like, you know what, that's the best way to put it, because if we have that, then really everything else should fall into place. Securing that number 1 draft pick, that actually puts us in the catbird seat when it comes to head coaching opportunities. Yeah. Because these guys are going to want to have that. Not only and we've touched upon a few of these things in different spots. The cap space. How many draft picks Joe Douglas was able to secure with some of the player personnel moves that he made, including getting rid of Jamal Adams, who was already a malcontent and actually ended up providing us with an opportunity to have him go be the best thing for us when he was an all-pro player. You get rid of an all-pro player if it benefits your team, and it benefited us for him.
And it also benefited Marcus May.
You know what? That is exactly right.
He's had a great season so far.
Not only has he had a great season, but he solidified himself as a leader within that locker room. So the first round pick was good. The second round pick long term is going to be the better pick for this organization. And that had nothing to do with Joe Douglas, but I think Joe Douglas recognized it. I also think that in this case, again, he's going to be able to pull some strings as far as Sam Darnold is concerned. And I know I said it a few weeks ago, the possibility of bringing Sam back, even if we do draft Trevor, I'm starting to really just think about that in different terms of saying it is more of a distraction. I think, and quite possibly we may actually end up seeing Joe Flacco come back as the veteran backup. It kind of puts us in a situation like we had with Mark Sanchez and Brunell, but I mean, look, Sanchez himself said that Brunell was a stabilizing force for him. We actually saw what McCown did for Sam those first couple of years. And if what it is that we have is Joe Flacco, who, I don't believe has shown enough to put himself in a position for, a starting position.
No, because he wants to play. That's the thing.
He wants to play, but he's not going to be able to play at that level. And I don't even think the situation change for him is going to change that. So, maybe what he does is, maybe Joe Douglas says, look, let's be realistic, my man Flacco. You're not going to go anyplace else. We haven't had any kind of bites about you coming and doing anything for us. We're going to pay you a nice salary for you to kind of take what it is that you've learned as a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And we want you to give it to this kid who we feel like is going to end up taking us to multiple chips. And if you do it quickly enough, you can be here and get a ring with us.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? So,
really quick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chime in with my thoughts on the Jeremy Schaap comments, and then we're going to swing over to Jimmy so that way we can get his top 5 head coaching quarterbacks as we're starting to get up against it here.
Waiting on that.
As far as Jeremy Schaap is concerned, look, I was absolutely pissed off when I heard the clip this morning. And I'm going to keep this, 100% real with everyone who's out there. I don't agree what he says because I don't believe that you should reward the Super Bowl champion with a first overall pick because, case in point, the Kansas City Chiefs, who just won a Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes, get the first overall pick. So what are they going to do? Are they going to select Trevor Lawrence and then try to trade him to the highest bidder? Or what are they going to do? Or are they going to select a mid to tier, a low first round, mid second round prospect who doesn't deserve to be the first pick overall, and then it upsets the balance of the NFL draft? The whole purpose that we have the NFL draft the way that it is because the teams that struggle will get the opportunity to procure better players so that way they can close the gap between themselves and teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Kansas City Chiefs, the New Orleans Saints, and the list goes on and on. Okay? The Jets didn't get here by accident. The Jets got here because they made poor decisions, poor drafting, poor free agent personnel, poor free agent signings, etc. The list goes on and on and on. But my thing to Jeremy Schaap is, look, if you just fucking hate the Jets, just say you hate the Jets. Because I think I would have more respect for you if you did that. Rather than to sit here and to make it seem like that it's all about Trevor Lawrence and what's best for him. Let Trevor Lawrence make the decision whether or not what's best for him. Because you know what? I can guarantee you he probably has somebody in his ear going, you have the opportunity to go to New York in the biggest media market in the world. And if you can go over there and be a part of that team's future and turn this team around and win a championship and make the Jets relevant again, guess what? You are going to be a god in New York sports. Okay, the money that you are going to make in endorsements alone, okay, would probably eclipse your NFL rookie contract.
Yeah.
So you know what? Fuck Jeremy Schaap. Fuck his comments. Fuck ESPN. Okay, and fuck Outside the Lines.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I think that what he did, what Jeremy Schaap's comments truly were, At this point, we're very tone deaf in today's society. You don't continue to reward people who win with the first overall draft picks or the second overall draft picks, because then guess what? The teams that stink are not going to get the opportunity to get better. And it's bad enough that the Jets already have the Jets tax that they have to pay that we're trying to get rid of. Man. The whole purpose that Joe Douglas was brought here was to make this team relevant again. And the only way that Joe Douglas is going to be able to make this team relevant again is if Woody and Christopher Johnson give the keys to the franchise to Joe Douglas, let him hire his head coach, and stay the fuck out of the way. I can't emphasize that enough.
That's a big ass if.
Because you know what? For the past 10 years, that the way that the New York Jets have been doing things has produced nothing but failure. You want to continue down that path, then by all means, bring back Adam Gase for 2021. Watch your fan base fizzle into oblivion because nobody's going to want to watch this team. Nobody's going to want to watch this product. Nobody's going to buy jerseys. Nobody's going to patronize this team, and you're probably going to end up losing money on your TV deals because you can't fill the stands. Okay, eventually all that shit's going to come up to you. Okay? Either that or the NFL is going to step in, and then Roger Goodell is going to actually have to grow a set of balls and tell you have to sell the team.
Fuck Roger Goodell too.
Okay, but nevertheless, I digress. And my final thought when it comes to Jeremy Schaap, I don't agree with your situation. I don't agree with your comments. Personally, if I were you, I would delete the post and take it down and save yourself some embarrassment, because I can tell you something right now. Those comments are going to come back to bite you in the ass. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but somewhere down the line, those comments are going to come back to bite you in the ass. Believe that.
CJ, think about what you said, like when you brought up Kansas City on that, and I'll just touch on this real quick. What's Kansas City going to do with the number 1 pick?
Right.
If Schaap had his way. So now they're going to trade that pick out and harvest more of that draft capital from the have-nots, causing just more turmoil just so they can possibly get one player and force them to trade up and to sacrifice their future to trade up for that one player. The draft is fine the way it is all I'm saying.
Period.
Right. The whole purpose that the draft is the way it is for competitive balance.
Correct.
Plain and simple. You have teams that are struggling. You give them the opportunity to procure better players. So hopefully their ownership, their management can actually surround them with better players. So that way they could be more competitive. And in today's NFL, we have seen teams that it does not take them very long to go from where the Jets are right now to being a playoff contender, to being a consistent, competitive football team. All we want is competitive sustainability. That's all we're asking for. Okay? We're not asking for 8 and 8s every year. We're not asking for 7 and 9s every year.
No.
We want fucking playoffs.
One thing just to close out my thoughts for the night, okay? And again, just this is my rap right here. If Trevor Lawrence is that guy, doesn't Trevor Lawrence want to be the one that comes in and becomes the change in a situation that says, you know what, this team sucked before I got here. I came in and being the player that I was, having the ego that you have to have as it being a quarterback and being a first round draft pick. That what comes with that is his desire to want to be the guy that comes in and changes and turns around the situation. If that's not the attitude that he brings, if that's not the ego that he comes in with, that's not the chip that he has on his shoulder, we don't want him anyway. We don't.
And he does have that actually. Dabo Swinney was on the Rich Eisen show.
He does. He does have it.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why this situation is right up Trevor Lawrence's alley.
Yep.
Not only
and
that,
Dabo Swinney was on the Rich Eisen show and was talking about it.
And saying, I can win with this. If you throw a couple of more things in the mix right there, we can win with this. I can win with this. That's who it is that we want. That's the dog mentality that we need to have.
But yeah.
All right. So Jimmy, we're going to close out tonight's segment. The top 5 coaching candidates. I gave you kind of a solo recon mission for me. So tell me what you've come back with, my friend.
Well, first and foremost, I want to put this Harbaugh stuff to bed for once and for all. Okay. Harbaugh is a short-sighted goal, and he's a short-sighted, short-term success for a long-term headache, and that's exactly what it's going to be. Harbaugh's proven that as he goes and as his teams do well, he feels he should have more and more and more control. Doesn't work out too well. It didn't work out with Balky in San Francisco.
What don't you get about it?
But that's it. It's the way he is. As far as the way it's looking for Harbaugh right now, currently as of yesterday, Harbaugh and Ward Manuel are in contract talks for an extension in Michigan. So that's let's go. Let's hope that sticks.
We should be thankful about that, actually.
However, this is the big however. Manuel wants reduced base salary with increased incentives. And according to some Ann Arbor, according to some Ann Arbor reporters, ego issues are definitely at play, and they're not sure Harbaugh will agree to that. I don't know if I can blame him if I'm being fair, but is what it is. Another issue that he had in San Francisco was he wanted more control over his NFL players. They're grown-ass men. He wanted off-field control. He wanted to be able to set more rules for his NFL players. Wow. Get out of here, man. Get out of here.
Right.
That's a quick way to lose a locker room. That's a quick way to have a GM start to disagree with you and start alienating a front office. It's just not good. Now let's get into why I'm the numbers guy. This is why I'm the numbers guy.
Right there.
This right here is why I'm the numbers guy on this. Let's talk about between the hashes with Jim Harbaugh. He's got 5 NFL playoff wins. That's fantastic. No Super Bowls. Okay. That's an issue for me. He's had his Michigan tenure has just reflected the same thing. And he's got 7 bowl appearances, 2 bowl wins. He's got a top 10 recruiting class every single year. Every single year in Michigan. Number 1, as Jets fans, who do we hate the most? Patriots, right?
I still hate the Dolphins with a passion, but the Patriots are definitely a close second.
Right.
I agree. Harbaugh, the number 1 rival for Michigan, obviously, Ohio State. Harbaugh laying a goose egg against Ohio State, 0-5. He has a current record of 10-16 against top 25 opponents, against ranked opponents, but he's 2-12 against top 10 teams in Michigan. Again, he's got a top 10 recruiting class every year. Hard pass on Harbaugh for me. Moving into my list, my top choice, I love Joe Brady. I absolutely love Joe Brady. I think his intelligence with the offensive side of football, he worked at LSU under Orgeron, worked directly with Joe Burrow. He knows how to build an offense around that style of quarterback, which is what's similar to what Trevor Lawrence is. Trevor Lawrence probably a little more mobile, a little faster. But Joe Brady's my number 1. My number 2, Bill Cowher, obviously. Just because it's a rumor and just because his name came up. You can't. I don't even need to go.
I'm gonna
into
hit that
stats.
buzzer.
I don't even need to go into his stats, but Bill Cowher is on the list, and here's why: is because Boomer. Every year, Bill Cowher's name comes up. Every year, Boomer is the one to be like, "Never gonna happen. Forget about it. It's not gonna happen." Blah blah blah.
And then Boomer says he thinks it would work well. All of a sudden, what happened?
That's exactly right. That's my point.
Cowher wants to coach the Jets, man.
I agree. His wife is a Jets fan. My little conspiracy theory on Bill Cowher. Why at 64 years old would he want total control over a franchise? That seems like a lot of work to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't Bill Cowher just want to coach? He says he loves Joe Douglas, which is another big thing that Boomer said. Why? I feel like those two would have a mutual respect. They'd work together. They would talk to each other. Cowher would say, "Hey, I'm kind of thinking about this guy in free agency." Joe Douglas says, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, we can go after him. What about this guy in free agency? Or this is the guy I'm looking at for the draft. What do you think, Bill? I think that's a great job, Joe. Let's do it." Like, I feel that type of relationship there. And just let Bill Cowher, let 64-year-old Bill Cowher coach the damn team.
Right.
Just coach the damn team for a few years. Have fun with it. Who wouldn't, as far as offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, who wouldn't want to come in and work for Bill Cowher to be in that Bill Cowher coaching tree? Maybe we can start home-growing coaching talent like they are in New England. Why can't we have a Josh McDaniels to our Bill Belichick?
Man,
why can't that happen?
McDaniels, that
maybe not this year. Let me,
Look, and
maybe not this year for McDaniels.
Think about it this way also. Hines Ward, man.
That's right.
Hines Ward. That would be huge. Bring back Hines Ward for wide receiver coach and bring in Josh McCown for quarterbacks coach, I say. But
either him or Chad.
Me. Moving on, because obviously I'm not going to go too much into Bill Cowher. If there were more confirming aspects of it, like he just said today, people are kind of going with the last part of his quote is I have no interest in coaching. That's the last little tidbit that was said. The actual quote is, this is talking about when he was asked about the Jets job. I have too much respect for the coaching profession to talk about a job that isn't open. From that perspective, any job that is open, I have no interest in coaching. Shout out to Ryan on Jets Talk 24/7 on YouTube for putting this one up. But that, to me, that's telling me that Cowher doesn't want to coach the Falcons. He doesn't want to coach the Lions, and he doesn't want to coach the Texans.
Period.
Anyway,
the only job he wants.
I'm telling you,
is one that unfortunately
it's
is not
lining up. It's lining up. My number 3 is Eric
Daniel's
Bieniemy.
inside sources about that, though. No.
Yeah, right. I need to get some inside sources. I'll go talk to Manish and see if I can have his old sources. My number 3 is Eric Bieniemy.
You don't want those?
Yeah, I do want those because they're pretend. They're made up. I can just say whatever I want. But I like Eric Bieniemy at number 3. He's trending up for me. He kind of jumped one of my candidates, but then, obviously Cowher jumped both of them. So he kind of like bumped up and was kind of fluctuating right there. I love the Andy Reid coaching tree. The biggest question with Bieniemy is we don't really know how much of it is him and how much of it is Andy Reid. But either way, if we had a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, he can take that Andy Reid experience and bring it to the Jets. And as long as he makes it his own enough to where it's not a copy and paste and rubber stamp an offense, then I'm okay with it. So he's got a really good background. I'd be super happy if Bieniemy came to us. I'd be happy with it. Number 4 is still Greg Roman. He's slipping a little bit. Baltimore's a little bit stagnant this year, but really how much of that is on Greg Roman and how much of it is on the limitations of Lamar Jackson? Because he's really a one-dimensional kind of guy. He can throw the ball, but he's not. Just running quarterbacks just get figured out too quickly in the NFL. And I think that's a lot of what's happened with Greg Roman. I think he's had to build an offense around that particular skill set. And
that's why Brad Smith was such a great, gasp of air for Mark Sanchez whenever he can run the ball himself.
Yeah.
Brad Smith was good because opposing defenses had no answer for it because they didn't know that he could run the way he was. And the best part about it was Brad Smith was tall. So he could not only throw the ball, he could catch the ball, and he was fast. Yep. Another guy who they used sort of like that every once in a while, especially on special teams, was Torrey Woodbury back in 97, 98. Yep. A lot of people don't know who Torrey Woodbury is. Let me tell you, he was one of their good special teams guys. Go and look up that 1998 New York Jets team. Okay, he was one of their leading tacklers, and also he was one of their gimmick guys that they used to send out.
To that point also, Jim, and we'll just do this quick so you can get back in. Sure. I also think that the question about him not being able to kind of transform a little bit of Lamar Jackson's game when you know that he can throw a little bit, I think that's a little bit of a question mark also because Lamar Jackson, he has the ability to be able to do it. Can he be coached into it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
We're not just saying completely transform his game. We're actually saying just build upon something that we know that he has in his tool bag. Yeah. He hasn't kind of been able to do that.
No, I totally agree. That's why kind of Roman used to be my number 1, number 2. That's why he's kind of slipped. He's trending down a little bit. I like what's keeping him on my list is his ability to work with different types of quarterbacks, because he was directly responsible for Alex Smith when everybody still said that was Harbaugh. That wasn't. That was Greg Roman in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That was Greg Roman that did that with Alex Smith. So it like I said, I just need to see him, you know,
He would
build
need to do more.
an offense, and that's kind of a gamble. Along the same lines is the one that's trending down for me is actually Matt Campbell. A little bit of a hot take. The Iowa State coach. Did a little bit of research on him yesterday and today, and he's already turned the Jets down even for an interview. He did that back in 2018. I'm not sure if us having the number 1 pick is changing his mind on that. But rumor has it that he is really a Midwest guy, and the only jobs he's really interested in are Ohio State and Notre Dame. Ohio State's no one's changing over there, but rumor has it that I think it's, last I heard, I thought it was Detroit, but Brian Kelly for Notre Dame is rumored to be coming to the NFL.
Okay.
So
he's somebody I wouldn't mind. He's somebody I would not mind as a New York Jets head coach.
Yeah, he's a little more defensive minded, but I think that if you get the right offensive coordinator in place under a Brian Kelly, I think it could work. It just depends. So I think Matt Campbell would be super attracted to that Notre Dame job over any NFL job. So he's kind of trending down for me, and he really struggles. He really struggles in bowl games. Like it's some of those big games for Matt Campbell have been. He's gotten clobbered a couple times in some of them big games. So that's my list. I'm still loving Joe Brady, but I'm telling you what, if there were some more truth, if some more confirmations, Bill Cowher all day, every day for me.
Can't be mad at that. Great list, Jim. Thank you.
I want to see Boomer Esiason hand him a jet hat in one of those NFL Today shows.
Well,
I want Cowher to actually,
Cowher's wife.
Whoever it is, I don't care, because I want to see, look, I wouldn't mind having Bill Cowher head coach of the Jets, but I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen, because if it's going to happen, then I want to see Boomer Esiason walk over to Bill Cowher and say, "Do you have any news?" "Yes, Boomer, I do. What you wanted is true. It's going to happen. Give me the jet hat." That's what I want to see.
I would totally agree. All I know is that with the rumors surrounding him,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's no way that Boomer would have spoken on it initially without Cowher saying, "Yeah, I don't mind. That's fine."
Okay.
Right.
And then Burleson confirming it on Twitter the next day, because Nate Burleson was there for the whole thing when Cowher was showing all the coaching footage and whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there has to be something there.
Yeah.
How much of his wife actually being a Jets fan kind of do you think motivates him? And I mean, you guys all know. I mean, I've got a situation where if my lady were to say something specifically and she knows that I'm good at, something in particular, and she's pushing me, she's coaxing me, like, look, I love you being home and all of that, but this is my team.
Maybe she's tired of all the bullshit from the Jets coaching as well. Right? Maybe she's just as pissed off as we are.
Exactly. Yes. And she's like, look, I know you can fix this shit. I'm sick of it. You know what I'm saying? I love you being home, but we can get somebody to mow the lawn.
Let's get it. Let's get it, Mrs. Cowher. Do your thing, man. Get him over here.
Handle this.
Wait a minute. She's living. Are they living in Westchester or Long Island? What is it?
If you really happy, get your ass out there.
Yeah, they already live. They already live in New York.
I'm saying, right? They moved on.
You have to move.
Listen, unless they got a house actually in Central Park to mow a lawn, you can understand that. All right? But they either got to be somewhere in Westchester or in Long Island to get this shit done. I don't know. But
look,
hey.
If they're on Long Island, I'm telling you right now, he is going to be inundated with people saying, "Bill,
please coach the Jets.
You're the guy right now.
Please.
You are the guy right now."
Put it like this, guys.
Do you know what life would be like on Long Island for him if he brings a winning organization?
Oh, I know.
To the Jets.
I know.
That the guy goes down as a double Hall of Famer.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, I mean, also think of it this way, and I'm going to end the show on this point here.
Okay.
Think of Bill Cowher if he were to actually come out. Now, if Bill Cowher were to actually come out and say, I want the New York Jets job, I think that Joe Douglas would have to give him an interview right off the bat.
Yes.
Okay, but I think that Bill Cowher is not going to say anything until Adam Gase has shown the door. And I don't think we're going to hear anything more until Adam Gase has shown the door and the Jets job, they officially have the help wanted sign on the front of one Jets drive. So now, that being said, this potentially, with the Jets going 0-16, having the first overall draft pick, this potentially could set itself up should Bill Cowher end up having that conversation with Joe Douglas and the Johnsons signing off on it. This could have the makings of the 1997 Jets, where Bill Parcells and Leon Hess had a conversation. Unfortunately, Leon Hess was very close to his deathbed. Okay? And this could potentially catapult the New York Jets back into relevancy should Bill Cowher take this job.
Immediately.
Now, again, it's all fun. It's a lot of fun to think about these things, especially now at Christmas time. Santa,
Sure.
CJ, what do you want for Christmas? I'll tell you what I want. I want Bill Cowher.
I want the chin.
First of all,
I want the chin. That's what I want.
being the Jew in this group, we're still in Hanukkah, folks.
Right.
Fair.
So,
Fair.
Daniel's already got the Hanukkah wish, under the menorah. So he's going, okay, every day I want Bill Cowher. I want Bill Cowher. I want Bill Cowher. So,
remember, I get 8 days
that I want Bill
you only get one.
I want the chin.
Love it.
So now at this point, the makings right now, after this season is over, once Adam Gase has shown the front door and this entire coaching staff has been purged, save for maybe Hines Ward and Brant Boyer, at that point, we can begin the speculation and we could begin the talks and possibly even the dreaming, dare I say, of the New York Jets' future
Further.
actually being somewhat brighter than it is right now. Because you know what? It's no fun being 0-13. It's not going to be any more fun being 0-16. The only thing Jets fans are going to be looking forward to during the Patriot game are everyone's going to be taking bets. Does Adam Gase get fired at the beginning of the game? Does he get fired at halftime, or does he get fired or does he get fired at the end of the game?
End of
Now,
the
you guys
league.
already know how I feel about that, but
I think we all do.
it'll be interesting. It would definitely be interesting to see exactly how all of this transpires out. But Jimmy put out a solid list. One person I'd like to add to that list, unfortunately, that Jimmy did not mention, I'm still an advocate of this, is Pat Fitzgerald from Northwestern.
Yeah.
So, and one of the biggest traits that I like about him is that he's a leader, and that's something that the Jets need in this locker room. And I think, believe it or not, Bill Cowher is a leader amongst men. Always has been a leader amongst men. Okay, so I think that could be exactly what the doctor could order. But again, I don't want to get excited. I don't want to get my hopes up.
Wait and see.
Let's get through the rest of this season. Let's get Adam Gase out of the building first, because I tell you something right now, Black Monday, when Adam Gase gets fired, holy cow, the Weapons Hot show that we are going to put on. Oh my goodness.
I'm going to buy a bottle for it. I'm telling you right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Me too.
It's going to be.
I'm going to buy a bottle for it.
It's going to be something. Daniel Kelly, you are officially invited to the soiree on Black Monday. So hopefully we are all celebrating the firing of Adam Gase with some champagne and some booze or whatever your favorite alcoholic drink is. Same thing with you, Daniel Feuerstein.
Thank you.
So, by all means. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to do it for tonight's episode of Weapons Hot, a New York Jets broadcast here on Sports War Radio and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Snowman Digital Media, and quite frankly, any place where you get your New York Jets fan media. Let's go around the room, starting with Mr. Kelly. Please give out your social media information so fans of Weapons Hot can follow you, talk to you, interact with you, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to want a little bit of explanations of your plan for the New York Jets, which you detailed out this evening on Weapons Hot.
Absolutely. Well, my book website is whateverittakesbook.com. And you can find me on Twitter at Daniel Kelly Book, DanielKellybOok is where, and you can email me also on my book website as well. And I know as soon as I'm named, I'm going to light those phone lines up like a Christmas tree or like a menorah.
Okay.
I know for a fact that it's funny because Bill Parcells, my final, and I love the conversation and I love the speculation of who, what, where, how, when, all the big questions. But I remember Bill Parcells very specifically saying this. He said, everybody wants the big job in New York until they get it.
Right.
And
now,
that's what it comes down to.
Right. We need somebody with the chutzpah that's going to walk in just like Rex Ryan did, just like Eric Mangini did. They came in and they were like, look, this team, we're not going to tolerate nonsense. We're not going to tolerate bullshit. This is a team that's going to come out, that's going to punch you in the mouth. We're going to punch you in the mouth for 60 minutes. And by the time you leave MetLife Stadium, you're going to know that you've been in a fight. And I keep saying this over and over and over again. And Daniel Feuerstein, I will get over to you for your social media information. I want MetLife to be a place of fear for the rest of the NFL.
Not just because of the high-priced beer and hot dogs.
Exactly. Thank you, guys.
I've upgraded to the sausage drinks, but anyway, go ahead.
And one last thing I'll say, guys, is what you want, CJ, and all you guys want, I will produce. And we will punch harder than anybody else in the National Football League. And we will become the greatest dynasty in the history of the National Football League, New England included, once I'm named.
Talk about it, Daniel. Okay.
Preach. All right,
Thanks,
Mr.
Trey.
Feuerstein, please give out your social media information so fans of Weapons Hot can interact with you, follow you, and et cetera, et cetera.
Et cetera, et cetera. It's Twitter, it's at capital letter D, capital letter F, lowercase CUERSTEIN. And Mr. Kelly, I'm following you already.
Thank you. That's awesome, guys. Thank you.
All right, Reaper, you're up.
So that's my gamer tag, CJ. Threw me off with that one.
Watch out over there. He's coming after you.
As you guys can see, I'm at Jets by Jimmy on Instagram, at Jets by Jimmy on Facebook. Just go ahead and hit me up.
All righty. And ladies and gentlemen, you could always follow the show on Twitter at CNC Jets Factor. You can follow me at JetsFan0523, my partner in crime on the other side of the glass over there, Mr. Spotty Blackman at Spotty Blackman. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, make sure you write that down. Okay. Also, be sure to follow us on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What happened, Kevin?
That page, subscribe to it. Make sure that you set up your notifications so that way every time any of us go live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, you will be able to hear it. Weapons Hot also has a Facebook page as well. Like the page, subscribe to it. Our content is up there. Message us, we'll message you right back. We love going back and forth with fans about this team. Also, leave us some feedback about how we're doing here on Weapons Hot. So we love going back and forth with fans again about how we're doing and so on and so forth. Also, don't forget to download the app. Worldwide Sports Radio Network is available. You can go to Google Play on Android. You can go to iOS or the Apple Store for Apple. Download the app. You will be able to catch not only Weapons Hot, but every single show that the Worldwide Sports Radio Network has to offer. You will not be disappointed. Trust me, it is worth it. And also, don't forget to subscribe to Worldwide Sports Radio Network's YouTube channel. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen. So go out there, subscribe.
A lot of good content there, guys.
Get it up there. Okay.
A lot of good content there, guys. A wide ranging, different teams, different sports, wrestling. A lot of different content on the YouTube channel specifically. You have an opportunity to come in and come back and do what it is that you need to do to kind of stay in line and up to date on what's been going on with so many different shows, so many different programs. Got to get in. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. And special shout out. I want to thank, Mr. Nick Copenhaver, Mr. Jason C. Williams, Mr. Martin Steele, Scott Gillespie, Mr. Justin Menga, who actually threw in Paul Edson Jr., Ryan Underwood, everyone who interacted with us tonight on the chat. We thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for interacting with us. We love it when you guys interacted with us. We love when you guys give us our comments so we can read them on the air. Any questions that you guys have, any concerns that you may have, please feel free to reach out to us. We love interacting with fans about our show and what we do here on Weapons Hot. So, for Mr. Daniel Kelly, the Whatever It Takes man, Mr. Daniel Feuerstein, host of Feuerstein's Fire, go and check him out. For the Reaper, Mr. Jimmy Jardine, otherwise known as Numbers, and Mr. Kevin Jackson. This is CJ the Painkiller D. Simone signing off. We will see you guys when we see you guys. And of course, I will leave you with, as always, still in my opinion, the best chant in the National Football League. Peace, love, go Jets. Have a safe evening. We will catch you guys next week. Take care.